Chapter 2194. The Earth Saint's eyes rolled back from the roar of the golden thunder dragon rock. He signed a contract with Yi Qinghan and placed the inner core into his right leg. The moment the Earth Saint inner core entered his right leg, Yi Qinghan felt the power of the stars and earth. It was boundless. This leg could probably destroy a saint. At this moment, the Water Saint inner core was placed on his right arm. The Fire Saint inner core was a little too weak, but with the support of Yi Qinghan's fire origin, it was placed on his left arm. The green willow turned into an inner core and attached itself to his dantian. Only the golden thunder rock's inner core was left in his left leg. The little saint dragon was ready-made. However, Yi Qinghan wanted to experience the feeling of the 5 elements being balanced. He ran back and dragged the little saint dragon out and fused it into his blood. The 5 elements were balanced. The golden body of utmost sage emitted the power of the 5 elements. The power in his body came from the heaven and earth. Boomed just as the 5 elements were balanced, there was a bright light in his sea of consciousness. The 3rd and 4th pages flipped open at the same time. A few words appeared on the 3rd page. The rest were Immortal Technique runes. Immortal Sect 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield. An Immortal Technique appeared on the 4th page. The words were soul-stirring. Immortal Sect 5 Elements Shifting Technique. 1 for defense and 1 for speed. They both had 6 levels of occult mysteries. The 7th level was Greater Mastery. However, there were no ready-made secret techniques. They had to be comprehended by oneself. Or perhaps the great world's consciousness had never thought of allowing Yi Qinghan to become an immortal. Hence, the later stages of the technique did not appear on the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture. Yi Qinghan's soul circulated to its peak to comprehend the Immortal Sect 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield. The first 30% was easy to comprehend. After all, his realm was there. However, the 4th level was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Every step was a different level. Especially at the 6th level, not even great saints could break through the defense of the Golden Bell Shield. It was like a tortoise shell. Great saints could not do anything to it. If there are immortals, this eternal world must be a low-level universe. As for this immortal technique, if I cultivate it to the 5th level, I can block the attack of a great saint. Even if I am only a saint, if I cultivate it to the 6th level, I will be the strongest below undying immortal. No matter how many great saints come, they will not be able to harm. If they want to kill evil souls, they would have to cultivate to the 5th level. Yi Qinghan did not try to comprehend the Immortal Sect 5 Elements Transference Technique. Instead, he calmed himself down to comprehend the Immortal Sect 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield. The inner cores of the 5 elements sacred beasts within his body were automatically absorbing the immortal spiritual power within his body and were slowly evolving. Yi Qinghan did not have much energy to care about the 5 elements sacred beasts. He retracted his divine sense and placed it all on the 3rd page of the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture. He focused all his energy on comprehending the 4th level. Time flew by quickly. Thousands of days in the outside world was only 1 day in the cave. Yi Qinghan could not feel the passage of time at all. A faintly discernible golden bell began to appear on the surface of his body. The 5 elements intertwined and the profound immortal technique supported him. The golden bell was engraved all over and was constantly being perfected. 5 years later, Yi Qinghan successfully comprehended the 4th level of the Immortal Sect 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield. The Fire Mantis inner core was completely refined by his own fire essence. He evolved it into a true saint-ranked inner core, allowing the 5 elements of his golden body of utmost holiness to be completely balanced. The 5th level of the Immortal Sect 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield was even more profound. It would be difficult to comprehend it without a few hundred years. The little saint dragon slowly absorbed the inheritance of the dragon rock's blood essence in his bloodline and became stronger. The metal and lightning elements provided to Yi Qinghan were even purer and sharper. The other 4 elements were also getting pure. The power they provided was not in quantity but in quality. The same amount of energy, but the power and lethality would definitely be multiplied by several folds. This way, The gap between the great sages would slowly be widened. Yi Qinghan desperately absorbed the first 5 levels of the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture and the profound runes. The golden bell shield on the surface of his body was already at the small success stage, and its defense was even stronger. The universal love saint sat outside the Dragon Rock Hall for 5 whole years. Regardless of wind or rain, she never left. Even the golden lightning dragon rock was touched by her feelings. He shook his head and sighed. If the sacred dragon had such feelings for him, why would she leave him for the outside world and submit to a human, causing him to perish? Within the Dragon Rock Hall, Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged in the center of the hall. The inheritance within the Dragon Rock Hall was activated. Golden light flashed, and the aura was released. Some of the inscriptions bloomed. The golden lightning dragon rock was stunned. Some of the inscriptions that he couldn't understand before were now so simple. Could this be the chance for me to break through the shackles and become an eternal great sage emperor? The golden lightning dragon rock was pleasantly surprised. Although his strength was not inferior to a human great sage, he still hadn't stepped into the eternal great sage emperor stage. Once he stepped into the great sage emperor stage, it wouldn't be impossible for him to deal with evil souls. The golden lightning dragon rock also sat cross-legged in the Dragon Rock Hall to comprehend the inheritance. At this time, Yi Qinghan gave up on comprehending the 5th level of the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield. Because there wasn't enough time, he needed to increase his speed again. Therefore, he began to comprehend the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Teleportation Technique. As long as he cultivated to the 4th level of the teleportation technique, his speed would increase by another level. He probably wouldn't lose to the golden lightning dragon rock by much. What? The Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield dissipated. Yi Qinghan returned to his ordinary state. However, immortal marks bloomed and attached to the surface of his body. He had transformed from a mortal to an immortal. The Immortal Sect was about to descend. Perhaps he really would ascend to the flying immortal realm and step into another high-ranked immortal realm. However, Yi Qinghan wasn't attracted by himself. Instead, he was focused on comprehending the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Teleportation Technique. To cultivate these 2 immortal techniques, the balance of the 5 elements was a must. It was impossible to lack even one. This heavenly prison Tao scripture wasn't given to Yi Qinghan for no reason. It had to be tested step by step. Only when Yi Qinghan reached the expectations of the heavens would he be able to unlock the 3rd and 4th pages. Under the balanced state of the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Teleportation Technique, he only took 3 months to break through the 3rd level and successfully advance to the 4th level. However, it wasn't easy to successfully comprehend the 4th level of the Immortal Technique. Without 3 to 5 years, no matter how heaven-defying Yi Qinghan's talent was and how balanced the 5 elements were, he wouldn't be able to do it. Just as Yi Qinghan was comprehending, a faintly discernible dense aura approached the Dragon Rock continent. It was the sinful soul that had disappeared for a long time. Now that his soul had evolved, he had completely adapted to the sacred fire in the ocean. No matter if it was his speed or strength, there was an obvious increase. His strength had increased by a level. If he had his current speed back then, Yi Qinghan wouldn't have been able to run so far. The sinful soul's eyes were red. His resentment soared to the sky. When the cold aura approached the border of the Dragon Rock continent, the spiritual herbs on the continent withered rapidly. Their vitality was taken away and they died completely. Screech! Screeched at the golden lightning dragon rock reacted quickly and rushed out of the Dragon Rock Palace. He spread his wings and flew high. His true body appeared and swung his tail towards the ocean. His aura raised tens of thousands of waves. Roar! Tens of thousands of races roared. The Dragon Rock continent actually had its own protective barrier. A light screen enveloped the Dragon Rock continent and blocked the baleful aura of the sinful soul. However, it couldn't block the sinful soul. The sinful soul controlled the body of the Bailey Longxian. His aura was exceptionally strong. He had already evolved to an undefeatable level. You can't stop me. Ants, merge with me. After I devour all of you, the next step is to return to the Eternal Continent and devour the Great Sage. Finally, there's the consciousness of the heavens. It's ruthlessness that created me. Since that's the case, I'll devour it. It can be considered as me. The sinful soul's voice penetrated the barrier as if it was nothing. He waved his hand and smashed the huge tail of the golden lightning dragon rock. The void was smashed through. Chapter 2195. Get lost. This is my territory. The golden thunder dragon rock roared. Its huge tail shook the sky, and purple lightning flashed. It was much stronger than when it fought Yi Qinghan. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom. The lightning flashed through the void and struck the sinful soul. Boom. The sinful soul smashed everything in front of him with a punch. All the purple lightning flashes were shattered into nothingness and did not cause him any harm. The holy fist, on the other hand, smashed mountains and rivers and hit the dragon tail. Bang! The holy fist, which contained boundless killing intent, hit the golden thunder dragon rock's tail. In an instant, the sea surged and almost broke the enchantment. Roar! The tail of the gold thunder dragon rock was emitting the purest metal element and lightning. However, the tail quickly darkened as it was invaded by the evil aura. A tearing pain spread throughout the gold thunder dragon rock's body, causing him to scream in pain. Strands of metal element and purple lightning covered his wounds, quickly destroying the evil aura in his body and completely erasing it. Whoosh! Whoosh! The golden thunder dragon rock flapped his wings and stirred up the sea, forming a huge whirlpool. It directly pulled the sinful soul into the whirlpool and forcefully threw the sinful soul thousands of miles away. Sinful soul, I know the root cause of your formation. Your enemy is not here. You should kill Xia Zhaoyang. Why harm the innocent? The golden thunder dragon rock roared. The sinful soul was not injured and stood steadily on the sea. No matter how strong the waves were, they could not affect the sea within 100 miles of his feet. He grinned evilly. The 100 Miles Dragon Immortal originally had white hair and a youthful face. At this moment, it was completely destroyed. He now looked like a demon from the abyss. No, it was the ruthlessness of the world that created me. Therefore, nothing in this world should exist. The greatest thing in this world is me. As long as my soul is not destroyed, nothing can kill my soul. A high and mighty existence like me should enjoy this world alone. Even the world's consciousness should be devoured by me. I look down on all living things, but all living things will be created by me. When the new era begins, you natives will be wiped out. The sinful soul laughed evilly. The golden thunder dragon rock looked at the sinister face of the 100 Miles Dragon Immortal and felt a chill down his spine. He was not afraid of anything, but now he was afraid. He could not help but look at the Dragon Rock continent. He wanted to take all the races here and escape as far as he could. There was no way to fight. The sinful soul's soul could not be destroyed. He would only become stronger. The only thing that could harm the evil soul was Judge, but Judge wasn't here. Neither Yi Qinghan nor Gold Thunder Dragon Rock could defeat the evil soul. Die! The sinful soul roared and stepped on the boundless sea. It soared into the sky and reached out to grab the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock. Boom! Whoosh! Ka-ka! The Golden Thunder Dragon Rock spat out golden purple lightning, drowning the sea. In a split second, dark clouds covered the sky, and lightning flashed. One could only see a dragon rock swimming in the sky, constantly swinging its tail in an attempt to defeat the evil soul. Unfortunately, he underestimated the evil soul. After all, the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was not a great sage. 4 great sages working together could only resist the sinful soul for 100 years, let alone the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock. At this time, the sinful soul had evolved again. After a moment, the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was defeated. However, he did not die because his speed was too fast. The sinful soul could not catch up to him at all. Boom, boom, boom. The sinful soul was furious and chased him for a few days. However, the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock did not think of fighting to the death. Instead, he looked for an opportunity to take away all the races on the Dragon Rock continent. The Golden Thunder Dragon Rock continent's sea and constantly broke the mountains and rivers. However, the sinful soul slowly adapted to the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock Continent's attacks. His cultivation increased by a lot. Boom! In a short period of time, the sinful soul could not do anything to the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock Continent. Therefore, he learned to be smart. He gave up on chasing the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock Continent and attacked the continent's barrier. The Dragon Rock Continent trembled and the barrier almost collapsed. Just as the sinful soul wanted to completely shatter the barrier, the universal love saint who was sitting outside the Dragon Rock Palace moved. He flew into the sky and sat cross-legged. His body emitted the aura of love. In the mortal world, the strongest power was love. The essence of love was to protect. The universal love saint understood the foundation of the mortal world. He emitted his love and attached it to the barrier, forming a new barrier. They intertwined like a barrier net and blocked the sinful soul's second attack. Boom, boom, boom. The sinful soul was furious. He constantly waved his large hands and smashed the barrier. The universal love saint constantly muttered seals and poured out all the sacred power in his body to protect the barrier and buy time for Yi Qinghan. Is that the fairy goddess? The fairy goddess has appeared. Everyone in the fairy race was stunned. The universal love saint looked exactly like the legendary fairy goddess. She was filled with love. The power of love could protect her people and block evil. It was exactly the same as the current scene. The other races looked at the universal love saint in the sky in shock. She pressed her palms together like an ancient Buddha. Her body emitted immortal light. The aura of love was so strong that it affected the hearts of all the races. It stimulated their fighting spirit and their desire to protect. The barrier actually became even more solid, firmly blocking the evil souls. 1 year, 2 years, blood flowed from the corner of the universal love saint's mouth. His face was pale. He was so tired that he could not even fly. The sacred power in his body had been exhausted. But Yi Qinghan still did not come out. The universal love saint was in despair. She liked the atmosphere of the Dragon Rock Continent. There was no war. Unfortunately, disaster did not pity this place. Now it had arrived. I'm sorry. I tried my best. The universal love saint fell from the sky. Although he was not seriously injured, he could not withstand the sinful soul's attack in his current state. He could only wait for death. Whoosh, whoosh, a beam of immortal light flashed and rushed out of the Dragon Rock Palace. It caught the universal love saint who fell from the sky and tied her behind his back. His palms formed seals. A finger broke through the void. It grew bigger and bigger. The aura directly shattered the barrier from the inside. It was like a heavenly finger that pressed down on the sinful soul's head outside the barrier. Boom! The second move of the sacred annihilation finger, shattering shackles. Unfortunately, the sinful soul mobilized his sacred body's arms to block it. However, his strength was not as strong as Yi Qinghan's. He was sent flying for thousands of miles and fell into the sea. Yi Qinghan shifted his body and placed the universal love saint on the ground. But his afterimage was still there. The next moment, he appeared in front of the sinful soul. You old bastard, your willpower is really strong. You actually chased me to the end of the world. Yi Qinghan kicked the sinful soul in the sea. The sea roared and rushed in all directions, setting off thousands of waves. Chapter 2196. Bang! Yi Qinghan's kick caused the sea to sink. The waves surged, and the evil soul was unable to defend in time and was kicked hundreds of miles into the sea. Whoosh! Gurgle gurgle, the sea was bubbling, and the evil soul's aura instantly dissipated, disappearing without a trace. Yi Qinghan's body soared into the air and smashed more than 10,000 meters into the void. He had cultivated bitterly for 10 years, and even with the support of immortal techniques, he was still unable to resist this powerful evil soul. Screech! Screech! Jin Lei Long Ping roared and charged over from afar. He transformed into his human form and arrived not far from Yi Qinghan. He grunted and said, "Let's work together and kill him first." Yi Qinghan's face was solemn. Back then, the 4 great sages were unable to kill this evil soul. Now, it was even more impossible for him and Jin Lei Longpeng to work together. Jean Lei Long Peng looked at the surging waves on the sea with a solemn expression, because he could not detect the evil soul's current location. Screeched at Yi Qinghan flipped his hand and took out Berserk. He also summoned the sky demon Bao and carried it on his back. He wore the Yin-Yang Bagua Taoist robe and faintly discernible 5 elements power around him. At any time, he could activate the Immortal Sect's 5 elements Golden Bell Shield, which could at least block the evil soul's sneak attack. Evil soul, aren't you powerful? Come out now and kill me. The world will be at your mercy. Yi Qinghan channeled his holy power and roared, his voice rolling like thunder. However, the evil soul had really changed. He had become smarter and more difficult to deal with. He knew when to advance and retreat, and would not be angered by Yi Qinghan. The sea was calm, and the Dragon Rock continent fell into a dead silence. The enchantment shrouded the continent again, afraid that the aftershocks would flatten the continent and wipe out all races. Huff, huff, huff. Yi Qinghan's breathing was steady. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the sea. His soul had already reached its peak state, and it continued to penetrate and expand, searching for the evil soul's whereabouts. Oh no, this evil soul has evolved to become so human-like. He's even more difficult to deal with. Yi Qinghan knew that things were bad. This creature had learned to endure. This was definitely bad news. At this moment, the divine bird ran out and cursed at the sea. Sinful soul, you stinking bug, have you learned how to hide now? Show me your dick for me to see. If I don't smash your face today, I will forgive you. Boss, this fool's courage has shrunk. Back then, he wasn't even afraid of dealing with 3 to 5 great sages. Now, he's trembling in fear when he sees you. Look, he doesn't even dare to show his face. The divine bird looked at Yi Qinghan with a smug look on its face, as if it was asking for credit. However, Yi Qinghan did not pay any attention to it. Instead, he stared at the depths of the sea. Everything within 1,000 kilometers was under his control. His domain had already been formed. In the depths of the sea, the sinful soul originally wanted to kill Yi Qinghan because he really wanted to kill Yi Qinghan. However, he was afraid that Yi Qinghan would escape again. Even a great sage would become mentally ill from chasing after Yi Qinghan in the vast sea for hundreds of years, let alone an evil creature like the sinful soul that was filled with negative emotions. At this moment, he was angered by the divine bird's curses. Although he wanted to retract his resentment and evil aura, the traces of aura still alarmed Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and tore open the sea. Endless seawater condensed into an immortal sword. Above the water immortal sword, a giant hand condensed from immortal spiritual energy appeared, continuously carving immortal runes and talismans to strengthen the immortal sword. When the immortal sword appeared, tens of thousands of water swords appeared out of thin air and shot towards the depths of the sea. Boom! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! A rain of swords fell on the sea. Every water sword carried a thick murderous intent. With the support of immortal techniques, even a saint would be injured. Boom! The rain of swords created huge waves that forced the sinful soul out of the depths of the sea. Whoosh! Boom! Ant, you've angered me time and time again. Today, I'll make you regret. The sinful soul soared into the sky. The great sage body shattered the water immortal sword and punched through the strongest water immortal sword, heading straight for Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body shifted. The power of the 5 elements filled his limbs and bones. His speed was so fast that even the golden thunder dragon rock was shocked. He didn't expect such speed to exist in this world. In short distances, Yi Qinghan's explosive speed was definitely the fastest. However, he hadn't cultivated to the 5th level. In long distances, he was still inferior to the great sage, let alone the golden thunder dragon rock, who was famous for his speed. Boom! Just as the sinful soul soared into the sky, Yi Qinghan caught his trail. Wielding the berserk hammer, he slashed at the sinful soul's back. The shifting technique showed its power and strength. It wasn't something that the Mortal Sage Sutra could compare to. Boom! Even the sinful soul couldn't dodge this attack. The blade drew a line of flames that directly engulfed the great sage body. However, the great sage body was the body of a great sage. Even if the sinful soul couldn't dodge, he still grabbed the 7-foot berserk hammer. His body was sent flying, but he didn't suffer much damage. Yi Qinghan's strength was still inferior to the great sage's. However, with the golden thunder dragon rock's help, his punch was enough to shatter the stars. The afterimages of a holy dragon and a golden rock followed his fist and swooped down, slamming into the sinful soul's back. Bang! The sinful soul's body slammed into the sky. Baleful aura filled the air. The sky couldn't even see a trace of light. The world was completely dark. No one could see the sinful soul's location. Screech! Boom! The golden thunder dragon rock soared into the sky and broke through the shackles of darkness. He looked down at the dark clouds below, but he couldn't disperse them. Yi Qinghan didn't leave. Instead, he was trapped in the darkness, trapped in the sinful soul's domain. And you've angered me again. The sinful soul roared. His voice rolled and surged towards Yi Qinghan from all directions. Yi Qinghan's divine sense lost its effect. His eyes couldn't see anything beyond his fingers. Everything was dark. Only his ears could hear. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan used the shifting technique and continuously shifted. However, he couldn't shift out of this domain. Humph! Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. His palms mobilized the power of the 5 elements. The 5 elements' golden bell shield began to appear around his body. Immortal technique runes filled it. The golden bell shield's range grew bigger and bigger. Immortal light soared into the sky. It was actually contending with the domain formed by the dark baleful aura. It even appeared to be suppressing it. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and put his palms together. He calmly used the immortal sect's 5 elements golden bell shield. He murmured and chanted the immortal sect's mantra. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Buzz buzz buzzed at the immortal sect's secret technique revealed its power. The 5 elements golden bell shield expanded to a distance of 100 meters. Immortal light began to tear apart the darkness. The baleful aura became faint. From the Dragon Rock continent's direction, one could already see the light around Yi Qinghan. What kind of immortal technique is this? It's actually so powerful. The experts from the elf race and other races were dumbfounded. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to have such a secret technique. The universal love saint couldn't care less at this moment. She was desperately absorbing the sacred power to replenish her strength. In order to fight for a few years for Yi Qinghan, she had almost destroyed her saint origin. Chapter 2197. In the west of the Dragon Rock continent, on the Endless Sea, Yi Qinghan's golden bell shield was getting stronger and stronger, forcing the evil soul to unleash his power in advance. Otherwise, his territory would be covered by the golden bell shield and become Yi Qinghan's territory. Boom! Buzzed, the evil soul mobilized the body of a great sage. His holy fist shattered the heavens, causing the sea to rise and fall. The golden bell shield emitted a buzzing sound that reverberated throughout the vast sky. The golden bell shield kept shaking as the power of the 5 elements gathered from thousands of miles away. The 5 elements were balanced, and as long as the heavens and earth were not destroyed, the golden bell shield would stand proudly. Unless the evil soul's explosive power could penetrate the golden bell shield, it would continue to operate and heal on its own. Relying on the immortal sect's 5 elements golden bell shield, Yi Qinghan continued to press forward, brandishing his 7-foot heavy saber as he slashed at the sinful soul. The man and the devil clashed in a frenzy. One was an unkillable cockroach, while the other was an unkillable super cockroach. The evil soul's body was the body of Bailey Longxian, a great sage body. The evil soul was an evil soul that could not be refined by any weapon. Unless the judgment sword appeared, no one would be able to kill the evil soul today. As for Yi Qinghan, the 5 elements were balanced. No matter how they fought, the 5 elements in his body always maintained a balance. The 5 elements in the heavens and earth would support his explosive power, attack, and defense. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The Immortal Sect's 5 elements golden bell shield and Immortal Sect's 5 elements shifting technique were both immortal techniques that consumed a lot of energy. Yi Qinghan had only cultivated to the 4th level. Although he had just comprehended the first 4 levels, he was still undefeated against the evil soul. The two of them fought fiercely, causing the heavens and earth to shatter and the seas to roar. Immortal light shot through the clouds. Even from afar, one could see that a great battle was taking place. Screeched up, the golden thunder dragon rock cooperated with Yi Qinghan and looked for opportunities to repel the evil soul. However, they were unable to injure him severely. The evil soul was defeated time and time again, but he got up again and again. Yi Qinghan was sent flying time and time again, but with the immortal sect's 5 elements golden bell shield, he fought for more than a month. Although he kept vomiting blood and staining his battle robe, it was not a big deal. Because Yi Qinghan was keeping the golden thunder dragon rock in check, it always had the upper hand. Until now, it had not been hit by the evil souls even once. Roar! The angry roars of the sinful souls filled the air as baleful aura filled the air. Darkness descended once again, and all the races within the boundary were terrified. They were afraid that Yi Qinghan and the golden thunder dragon rock would be defeated. In the distant horizon, in the vast sea, the holy master Xia Zheyong, the holy emperor, the ghostly grandmaster and the heavenly grandmaster grand sage looked at the horizon in the direction of the dragon rock continent. Over there were dark clouds and darkness. However, there were also celestial lights that shot into the sky. Waves and waves of suppressive aura spread into the distance. They were shocked and rushed over. The goal of these 4 great sages was simple. They wanted to find Yi Qinghan and obtain the immortal sex mantra. They wanted to cultivate their immortal sex mantra and step into another realm. They wanted to transcend and be above the heavens, or at least be on equal footing. The 4 great sages were still far from the battlefield. No matter how fast they were, they still needed a year's time. However, in order to maintain their peak strength, they did not dare to rush. Hence, when they arrived near the Dragon Rock continent, 2 years had already passed. Yi Qinghan and the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock fought with the evil souls for 2 years. At this moment, Yi Qinghan and the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock were not the only ones. The evil souls were on the verge of collapse. This fierce battle was even more tiring than dealing with the 4 great sages. Not only was Yi Qinghan's mantra too demonic, and the speed of the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was too fast. It was also because the 4 great sages did not think of risking their lives for an undying creature. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dong dong dong. The tireless evil souls and Yi Qinghan were so tired that their hands were on their knees. The Golden Thunder Dragon Rock's wings were retracted into his body. His lips were dry, and the holy power in his body had dried up. He and Yi Qinghan were risking their lives. They did not hold back at all. This was because they wanted to protect their people here, and Yi Qinghan wanted to protect the universal love saint. They had no choice but to risk their lives. You old monster! Why do you always want to fight with me? You chased me for more than 100 years, and now you've been killing me for 2 years. Are you still not giving up? Yi Qinghan was floating on the sea. He wiped the blood from his lips with his big hand and scolded in exasperation. The Golden Thunder Dragon Rock's heart was about to explode. He had not only fought for 2 years, but also tangled with the evil souls for a few years. At this moment he was exhausted. He looked at the evil souls with disheveled hair and was extremely nervous. The evil souls were like crazy demons. His eyes were red, and the Bailey Longshan's appearance had changed. His fangs were protruding out, and he looked extremely sinister. I didn't expect an ant like you to have so many immortal sect mystic techniques. However, you are not worthy of the immortal technique. Only a high and mighty like me is worthy of cultivating it. Give me the immortal technique, and I'll spare your lives today. The evil souls bared his fangs. His face was ferocious as he slowly approached Yi Qinghan. Gulp! Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and kept retreating. However, after retreating for a while, the Dragon Rock continent was behind him. He did not care about the lives of others, but the universal love saint was also there. He had no way to retreat. Kakaka! Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. At this moment, he had no more trump cards. He could either use the teleportation technique to escape, or he could really fight to the death with the evil souls today. Although his physical body was in balance with the 5 elements, and his strength was endless, his physical body was not indefatigable. Also, his soul could not operate continuously no matter how strong it was. You really won't give up until you reach the Yellow River? Yi Qinghan scolded angrily. He glanced at the exhausted golden thunder dragon rock and signaled him to take away the creatures on the Dragon Rock continent. Obviously, he was going to give up on this land with rich spiritual energy. At this moment, the evil souls were very smart. They immediately saw through Yi Qinghan's plan. They sneered coldly, "If you don't hand over the immortal sect mystic techniques today, no one can leave alive." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, 4 great sages rushed over from afar. Looking at the exhausted evil souls, they actually wanted to beat them up instead of watching them fight from afar. Roar! Boom! The 4 great sages rushed to the front without hesitation. Their divine swords pierced through the mountains and rivers, and they attacked the back of the evil souls. The evil soul was already exhausted. Although his soul was immortal, he didn't want his physical body to be destroyed. After all, a great sage's body wasn't something that could be found anywhere. If Bailey Longxian's physical body was destroyed, his combat strength would decrease a lot. Boom! Whoosh! The sinful soul struck the sea with his palm, raising a curtain of water that covered the sky. His figure flashed and directly entered the sea, disappearing without a trace. Xia Zheyang and the others narrowed their eyes. They did not expect the evil souls to escape. They had learned how to endure. They suddenly felt depressed, and they felt the threat of death. When Yi Qinghan saw that the 4 great sages had actually appeared here, he knew that they were up to no good. If they were kind people, the warning from the heavens wouldn't have been for the 4 of them to stand by and do nothing. Chapter 2198. The evil soul had escaped, but the 4 great sages had their eyes on Yi Qinghan. The Emperor Holy Sage and the Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage were still fine, as their relationship had not deteriorated. Furthermore, they did not know that Yi Qinghan had already seen the warning from the world's consciousness. Otherwise, Yi Qinghan would not have been able to escape today. Phew! Yi Qinghan exhaled heavily, collected his thoughts, and looked at the 4 great sages as if nothing had happened. Even if a battle between the great sages broke out today, the Emperor Holy Sage and the Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage would not stand on Xia Zhaoyang's side, let alone the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock. Although his battle strength was not enough to shake a great sage, it was not a problem for him to hold back the ghostly Grandmaster. 4 against 2, there was no problem. Xia Zhaoyang seemed to be full of righteousness, but those who knew him well knew that once he set his sights on a target, he would not give up until he achieved his goal. Xia Zheyang now stared at Yi Qinghan with a smile on his face, but it was a fake smile that made one's hair stand on end. "Lord Yi, long time no see. I did not expect your physical body to recover and your battle strength to be even higher. I cannot help but admire your talent and luck," Xia Zhaoyang said calmly. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and replied, "I do not dare to accept the Holy Lord's praise. Even if I cultivate to the great sage realm, I am not even 1,000th of the Holy Lord's strength." Xia Zhaoyang looked at Yi Qinghan's uncertain face. He knew that Yi Qinghan was lying, but he could not do anything. After all, Yi Qinghan was no longer an ant that could be easily manipulated. He was an existence that was comparable to a great sage, far surpassing a sage. "Lord Yi, a straightforward person does not resort to insinuations. I am here today to make a deal with you. As long as you are willing to give me the orthodox cultivation methods of the Holy Finger and the space-piercing star-plucking hand, I am willing to promise you 10 things that do not go against my Tao heart. I can even give you the Holy Empire," Xia Zhaoyang said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked, "Does the Holy Empire still exist?" "Do?" Xia Zhaoyang's heart sank. He was almost angered by Yi Qinghan. Indeed, the Holy Empire no longer existed, but were there still any holy lands in the outside world? Xia Zhaoyang restrained his anger and looked at GD and Tongtian. His gaze was like lightning as it swept across the golden lightning dragon rock. He knew that it was impossible to fight for the immortal technique today, so he could only negotiate. His expression returned to normal as he smiled and said, "Sect Master Yi, since you don't like the current Holy Empire, then why don't we talk about other things? I know you're looking for Bailey Longxian's soul and Green Lotus Sword deity's half of his origin. As long as you're willing to compromise, I'll give both of them to you. Moreover, I'm not cultivating immortal techniques for myself, but for all living beings. Even if it's for the sake of all living beings, I hope Sect Master Yi can promise me that at this critical moment, we should share all the resources. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose. The way he looked at Xia Zhaoyang had changed. It was a look of reverence and admiration, like a human struggling in a whirlpool who saw the god that saved him. Xia Zhaoyang was stunned by Yi Qinghan's gaze, but he didn't say anything. The Holy Master is truly the savior of mankind, a great hero. I, Yi Qinghan, am truly in awe of you. For the sake of all living beings, you're actually willing to take the risk to cultivate immortal techniques and prepare to fight to the death with those evil souls. A mortal like me is ashamed of my inferiority. Yi Qinghan's gaze changed, and his words were sharp as he directly mocked. Crack, crack, crack. Xia Zhaoyang clenched his fists in anger at Yi Qinghan's sarcastic tone, his bones cracking. However, Yi Qinghan wasn't prepared to let him go. He continued to attack. As far as I know, those evil souls were created by you, right? How did you do it? Do I need to announce it to the public? How many lives have been buried with your son? Now you're telling me that you want to save all living beings? Do you think I'm stupid? Xia Zhaoyang and the ghostly Grandmaster's expressions turned cold. At this moment, they knew that Yi Qinghan couldn't make a deal with them and their killing intent soared. The Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and the Holy Emperor smiled. They were prepared to fight it out with Xia Zhaoyang and the ghostly Grandmaster to show their goodwill to Yi Qinghan. Perhaps Yi Qinghan could share his immortal techniques with them, so that they could protect themselves during the Great Apocalypse. However, at this moment, Yi Qinghan changed the topic. He smiled and said, if you want to trade the cultivation methods of the Saintly Finger and the Star-Seizing Hand, it's not impossible. However, I'm not interested in the origin of the Green Lotus Sword Fairy and the soul of the Bailey Longxian. If you want to work with me, give me those two items first. We'll talk about the terms of the deal later. Xia Zhaoyang fell silent. If Yi Qinghan was lying to him, he couldn't kill Yi Qinghan. More importantly, he couldn't kill him. The Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and the Holy Emperor panicked. They hurriedly looked at Yi Qinghan, but he pretended not to see them. At this moment, the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was desperately absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to heal his injured body and recover his strength. As everyone's attention was on Yi Qinghan, no one noticed him, and he wouldn't take the initiative to attract their attention. Yi Qinghan's goal was not only to protect Xia Zhaoyang and the others, but also to buy time for the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock. After all, the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock had used up too much energy in the past few years. Xia Zhaoyang fell silent for a long time. In the end, he compromised. He waved his hand and took out half of the origin of the Green Lotus. It had a majestic aura of life and was filled with profound meaning. He threw it to Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice, the soul of the Bailey Longxian is not in my hands. It's in the holy empire of the greater world and has been sealed by me. When I return to the greater world, I will retrieve it for you. I believe that sect leader Yi is a man of his words, so please don't disappoint me. Yi Qinghan took out half of the origin of the Green Lotus Sword Fairy and covered it with his divine sense. He didn't find Xia Zhaoyang tampering with it, so he kept it with a smile. Say it. If any of you can move me, I can trade immortal spells with you. After all, in this era, it's impossible for me to kill the evil soul alone. Therefore, I need another strong cultivator to advance and join forces to kill the evil soul. Yi Qinghan clapped his hands and landed on the sea. He waved his hand and formed a war chariot. He leaned on the war chariot and said with a smile, Little Yi, you better think it through. The Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage reminded him. Yi Qinghan smiled and bowed slightly. Master, I know. However, compared to the evil soul, the Holy Master still has some humanity. Instead of letting the evil soul live, why not let the Holy Master live? At this moment, Yi Qinghan didn't have a good impression of the Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and the Holy Emperor. However, he still had to act on the surface. When Xia Zhaoyang heard Yi Qinghan's words, he didn't know whether to be angry or happy. his clenched fists gradually relaxed. Yi Qinghan glanced at the four great sages and laughed coldly in his heart. If you want immortal spells, it's impossible for the four of you in this lifetime. The person who can take advantage of me hasn't been born yet. I need to use you to push me into the great sage realm. When that time comes, who will I be afraid of? Once he broke into the great sage realm, Yi Qinghan would be unparalleled in the world. Chapter 2199. Yi Qinghan wanted to make use of the four great sages. The four great sages wanted immortal techniques, so their motives were not pure. However, Xia Zhaoyang was not a brainless person. It was impossible to get any benefits from him without any benefits. Xia Zhaoyang looked calmly at Yi Qinghan and said calmly, "Sect leader Yi, no matter how many mistakes I've made in the past, I should have a chance to make up for it. Yes, I was the one who created these evil souls, so I should be responsible for it. I want to cultivate immortal techniques, and although I also want to step into the immortal realm, I have paid a huge price for it. I won't hide it from you, but my first goal now is to get rid of these evil souls, restore peace to the outside world, and lessen my sins." Yi Qinghan shrugged and said, "Of course I believe in the sacred Lord. After all, if the evil souls are alive, no one will have a good time." Sect leader Yi is indeed sensible. I'm relieved. Xia Zhaoyang praised, then said, "Sect leader Yi, you've seen my sincerity. I've already given you half of the origin of Green Lotus. It may not be that important to you, but it's too important to Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Without this half of the origin, she's just a good for nothing. However, with this half of the origin, I believe we're no match for her. Green Lotus Sword Immortal and you are good friends, so I'm willing to fulfill your wish. I wonder if sect leader Yi can give me one of the orthodox cultivation methods for each of the sacred finger and star picking hand?" Xia Zhaoyang was not asking for too much as long as he had one orthodox cultivation method. However, Yi Qinghan shook his head and said, "The sacred destroyer finger has a total of 3 fingers, and I've only cultivated 2. I'll tell you the cultivation method of 1 finger in one go. You're in the Supreme Saint realm, and your talent is superb. If I tell you the cultivation method of each finger, you won't need me very soon." Xia Zhaoyang clenched his fists and asked in a muffled voice, "Then how do you want to show your sincerity?" At this moment, Sky Piercer and Emperor Absolute Saint were extremely anxious. Clearly, they did not want Xia Zhaoyang to cultivate any immortal technique. Even if it was just an orthodox technique, he could surpass them. Once the gap was widened, they would no longer be on the same level. Yi Qinghan glanced at the 3 great sages and ignored the ghostly god Alpha. Whatever Sky Piercer and Holy Emperor could consider, he would consider as well. He had to maintain the balance of the big world. At least 2 great sages could join forces to fight Xia Zhaoyang, but he did not want to benefit Sky Piercer and Holy Emperor for no reason. Yi Qinghan's soul was working quickly as he thought of a way to continue bluffing. In the end, his gaze swept across the golden Thunder Dragon Rock. Seeing that he had recovered 70% to 80% of his strength, he waved his hand and said, "Let's enter the Dragon Rock continent and discuss this slowly." After saying that, Yi Qinghan did not give the others a chance to reject him. He quickly appeared on the sea and land and reached out to pull the Universal Love Saint over. He gently transmitted his voice, "Thank you for your hard work. No matter what decision I make next, you have to maintain a supportive attitude, whether it involves Xia Zhaoyang or Emperor Absolute." The Universal Love Saint did not know the full contents of the world's warning. She also did not know that the warning ended with the 4 great sages watching from the sidelines. Naturally, she did not know that Yi Qinghan had begun to hate Emperor Absolute. He only maintained that respect now because he wanted the 4 great sages to bite each other. "Arth, I followed you. You're the most important," the Universal Love Saint transmitted her voice back. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. He held the Universal Love Saint's hand and walked towards the Dragon Rock Pavilion. The Emperor Absolute Saint looked at Yi Qinghan and the Universal Love Saint's actions and was stunned. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to subdue the Universal Love Saint. However, he was immediately overjoyed. This time, Yi Qinghan and he were even closer. Even if Yi Qinghan would benefit Xia Zhaoyang, how could he not benefit himself? The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage was also very anxious. He could even vaguely guess Yi Qinghan's thoughts. His mind was spinning non-stop. He wanted to pay a price for Yi Qinghan to teach him the cultivation method of the first and second forms of the saintly finger of annihilation. The ghostly Grandmaster had no other thoughts. He only wanted to follow Xia Zhaoyang. After Xia Zhaoyang became an undying immortal, there would be some benefits for him. Once the golden thunder dragon rock entered the sea and land, his recovery speed increased. At this moment, he also understood that Yi Qinghan cultivated an immortal spell. However, he still valued relationships. He did not think of tricking Yi Qinghan. He only wanted to protect Yi Qinghan's immortal spells. "Don't worry. If they dare to snatch it, I will definitely help you," the golden thunder dragon rock promised. Yi Qinghan smiled and brought the 4 great sages to the square outside the Dragon Rock Pavilion. He waved his hand and a few chairs and tables appeared. They shone with golden light as if they were made of gold. However, they were supported by immortal spells and looked very luxurious. "Please sit," Yi Qinghan gestured. The 4 great sages sat opposite each other. The Universal Love Sage and the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock sat on either side of Yi Qinghan. The atmosphere outside the square was very tense. Yi Qinghan looked at the 4 great sages and said with a smile, "If you want to cultivate an immortal spell, you must pay a price. I am not stupid. There is only one immortal spell and only I can learn it. If you want to learn it, I will not be stingy. However, you have to take out something that will benefit me. For example, a treasure that can push me into the great sage realm or an immortal treasure that can help me cultivate. You are all great sages, so you should have some things like that. If you want to take away the immortal spell without paying a price, you must think of me as an idiot. Don't think that I will sacrifice everything for the sake of the common people. If you are willing to pay the price for the common people, you would have joined forces to fight for 100 years and there would not have been such a result." The 4 great sages blushed, especially the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and the Holy Emperor. They were Yi Qinghan's seniors. After hearing what Yi Qinghan said, they felt hot all over. Yi Qinghan snorted and continued, "Even the eternal great sage cannot pay the price for the sake of the common people. Us mortal little sages are even more selfish." This sentence was very clear. Everything depended on resources and treasures. No one should expect the other to pay the price for the common people. All 4 of you have the chance to cultivate an immortal spell. It depends on whether you are willing to give up your most precious treasures. Yi Qinghan reminded them calmly. 4 great sages, 3 of whom were the oldest great sages in the great world. No one would believe that they did not have any resources. Whoosh! Xia Zhaoyang sat up straight and stared at Yi Qinghan, then at the other 3 great sages. He obviously did not want anyone else to obtain an immortal spell. He had to ensure that he was in the lead. "I do have some treasures here. They are all immortal treasures that are very important to Sect Master Yi. With them, your chances of becoming a great sage will increase by at least 20%. Xia Zhaoyang said in a low voice. 20% chance of success. Although it was only 20%, to Yi Qinghan, it was absolutely priceless. "Take them out and let me see," Yi Qinghan said immediately. Whoosh! Xia Zhaoyang took out 3 treasures that were surrounded by immortal qi. One of them was an immortal herb that was filled with chaotic holy power. The other 2 items were something that even the other great sages could not recognize, but they knew that they were extremely valuable. Gulp! Yi Qinghan swallowed his saliva and said quietly, "They are indeed good things." Xia Zhaoyang waved his hand and kept the 3 treasures. He said calmly, "If Sect Master Yi likes them, these 3 items can be exchanged for the first 2 fingers of the Holy Finger of Annihilation." Chapter 2200. 3 items in exchange for the first 2 fingers of the Sacred Destroyer Finger was a bargain for Xia Zhaoyang. However, it was not a loss for Yi Qinghan either. Yi Qinghan leaned back in his chair and pondered silently. With these 3 items, even if he could not become a great saint, he could shorten his training by a few days. At the very least, he could reach the 5th level of the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield and the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Teleportation Technique. Once he reached the 5th level of these two techniques, he could rival a true great saint. If he were to fight Xia Zhaoyang alone, it would be hard to tell who would win. Yi Qinghan was tempted, but he remained expressionless. He opened his eyes and looked at the other 3 great saints. He smiled and asked, "Don't the 3 of you want to cultivate immortal techniques? Don't you have anything decent?" Xia Zhaoyang frowned. He could not figure out what Yi Qinghan wanted. Were immortal techniques not good enough? He could not let immortal techniques be everywhere. The Absolute Saint and the Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage looked at each other. They did not expect Yi Qinghan to want to take advantage of them. The Absolute Saint looked at the Universal Love Saint, hoping she would say something. However, the Universal Love Saint lowered her head and pretended not to see. He could only rack his brains to think of what kind of treasure could attract Yi Qinghan. Anyone who did not cultivate immortal techniques would be left far behind by the other great saints. However, it was different if one cultivated the sacred destroyer finger. The ghostly Grandmaster had no choice. He had just entered the great saint realm and did not have any immortal treasures. He could only wait for Xia Zhaoyang's gift. The 4 great saints were all silent. This was the most challenging time for patience. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. His holy golden body was absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and converting it into immortal spiritual energy. His tired body was recovering rapidly. He had recovered more than 50% of his strength. In a few days, he would be able to return to his peak condition even if he did not actively absorb spiritual energy. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes to comprehend the celestial ways. Now that he had fully grasped the heart mantra of the first 2 fingers of the Saint Destroyer finger, he could teach it verbally and personally. It was not like before when he could only understand and not teach it verbally. The 3rd finger technique was very powerful. Once it was used, its power would be 10 times or even 100 times stronger than the first 2 fingers. However, the mental cultivation method was very difficult to understand. It was impossible to condense it into a fingerprint. The power in his body was not enough. It was the same for the 6th level of the space-piercing star-picking hand. One must reach the great sage realm if they wanted to become stronger. Otherwise, they would be like looking at flowers in the fog. Yi Qinghan flipped to the 3rd page of the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture and started to comprehend the 5 elements golden bell shield. His body emitted a faint golden light and the 5th level was within reach. Unfortunately, he still couldn't break through that layer of imprisonment. He still needed a lot of time to grind it out, unless he had a large number of immortal treasures to support him. The 4 great sages looked at Yi Qinghan's aura and became more and more expectant of the celestial ways. They couldn't wait to dissect Yi Qinghan. After a long time, Saint Emperor took out a bottle of the essence of the water of life. This was the essence of the water of life that he had collected over the years. It was not ordinary water of life, but the essence of the water of life. 1 drop every 100 years, and no one knew how many years it took to gather a bottle. Even if a great sage was exhausted, 1 drop of the water of life's essence could recover 30%. It was very precious. This bottle of water of life's essence could allow a water saint beast to evolve into a great sage. Its value could be said to be priceless. It was not much less than the 3 items of Xia Zhaoyang. Saint Emperor pushed the bottle in front of Yi Qinghan and said in a deep voice, "Sect Master Yi, you and I are one family. Your saint has become the wife of your disciple, which is equivalent to your daughter-in-law. Now that Universal Love Saint has become your wife, we are even closer. As an elder, I didn't give you anything in the first place. This can be considered as a compensation to you. I hope you like it." Universal Love Saint's eyes flashed as she looked at Saint Emperor in surprise. Saint Emperor sighed and didn't want to blame Universal Love Saint for not speaking up for him. He sat back down. Yi Qinghan smiled and didn't even say any polite words. If Saint Emperor generously gave it to him in the past, not only would he receive the celestial ways, he would also give him half a bottle of the water of life's essence. Unfortunately, it was different now. He put away the jade bottle and accepted it with a smile. "Thank you, Saint Emperor. I will remember this kindness in my heart." Yi Qinghan said plainly. The Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage had a head full of white hair. He let out a breath of turbid air and his wise eyes saw through Yi Qinghan's thoughts. He knew that if he didn't pay a certain price today, he wouldn't be able to receive the celestial ways. I didn't expect my beloved disciple to reach this stage. I feel guilty. When I took you in as my disciple, I didn't even give you a proper greeting gift. Today, I might as well make it up to you. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage mocked himself. He took out a nebula map from his heaven and earth sleeve. It was like the Milky Way, but more like the evolution of the universe. The heaven and earth sun and moon galaxy map. Xia Zhaoyang was shocked. He stood up and said in shock. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage sighed and said, "Yes, that's right. Back then I found it in the land of desolation. I cut it out and sealed it in this map. It's evolving into the universe. If I could understand its mysteries, I would be able to create the world. It's a pity that I haven't been able to understand it after so many years. Maybe I'm not fated." Xia Zhaoyang's expression changed. He stared at the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and asked, "When I asked you, why did you lie to me?" The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage raised his eyebrows and asked, "If you were the only one who obtained the celestial way today, would you share it with me?" Xia Zhaoyang was speechless. He didn't know how to refute. At this moment, Yi Qinghan stared at the nebula map in the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage's hands. This was the true evolution of the world. It was the purest, the foundation of the birth of the world. If one understood it fully, it would definitely be stronger than the consciousness of the world. The consciousness of the world couldn't interfere with the flow of the world, but the creator of the world had no problem. Before the celestial way appeared, this was the only shortcut to becoming an immortal. It was a pity that not everyone could understand the nebula map. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to say that he would definitely be able to understand the nebula map. However, this map could complement the celestial way. If he wanted to successfully cultivate the sixth move of the star-plucking hand and the last two moves of the Immortal Sect's 5-element spell, he would probably need the nebula map. However, Yi Qinghan didn't reveal any joy. Instead, he waited silently. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage rolled up the nebula map and handed it to Yi Qinghan. He said, "You are my disciple. It would be best if you could become an immortal. This nebula map is useless to me. Take it and study it." Yi Qinghan reached out and took the nebula map. Finally, he looked at Xia Zhaoyang and said calmly, "In my opinion, your 3 items are the worst. If you want to exchange for the first 2 mantras, what about the Great Emperor and my master?" Yi Qinghan was taking advantage of every opportunity. He wouldn't stop until he had squeezed Xia Zhaoyang dry. Huff, huff, huff. Xia Zhaoyang took a few deep breaths. Finally, he took out an item. It was the supreme celestial material of the great sage weapon. He said hoarsely, "This is all I have. I want to exchange it for the first 2 moves of the saintly finger and the last move, the star-plucking hand." Yi Qinghan laughed loudly. He stood up and said, "Deal? As a junior, I will fulfill all your wishes." Chapter 2201. Yi Qinghan's declaration of a deal made Xia Zhaoyang and the others burst with joy. Immortal techniques were within their reach. "You can meditate on this square, but please leave, Ghost God Great Saint. You didn't drop any treasures." Yi Qinghan bluntly asked him to leave. The Ghost God Patriarch looked at Yi Qinghan in exasperation. He pointed at Golden Thunder Dragon Rock and Universal Love Saint and said, "Didn't they also not drop any treasures?" Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and mocked, "Universal Love Saint is my wife, and Golden Thunder Dragon Rock is my savior. Who do you think you are?" The Ghost God Patriarch was furious and released his aura, but before he could erupt, Xia Zhaoyang said coldly, "Go to the edge of the continent and defend against the evil souls." Sure enough, the Sacred Master's prestige was too strong. The Ghost God Patriarch didn't dare to disobey and could only leave resentfully. There were only 3 great saints left on the square: Golden Thunder Dragon Rock, Universal Love Saint, and Yi Qinghan. Universal Love Saint's talent wasn't too bad, but her realm was too low and she didn't have many opportunities. Even if she were to meditate on immortal techniques, she wouldn't be able to learn even 1/10,000th of it. She was far inferior to Yi Qinghan. First of all, This immortal technique was a blessing from the heavens. Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was different. His strength was comparable to a great saint, and his fortune was heavenly. His cultivation speed would definitely be much faster than Universal Love Saint. Yi Qinghan performed the Sacred Annihilation Finger and condensed the Sacred Annihilation Finger in front of the 5 people. The speed was very slow, but each step was supported by immortal runes. It was definitely the orthodox cultivation method. Even the Heart Sutra was explained in detail. Yi Qinghan performed it 3 times and explained the mental cultivation method 3 times. After that, he didn't say anything else. Meditate as much as you can. As for the star-plucking hand, I'll give it to you in 5 years. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and left, taking Xia Zhaoyang's 4 treasures with him. Performing the first 2 moves of the Sacred Finger Seal 3 times and explaining the mental cultivation method 3 times, Yi Qinghan had gained so many benefits. However, this was enough for a great sage like Xia Zhaoyang. Back then, Xia Zhaoyang had only taken a glance at the Sacred Finger of Annihilation and was able to simulate most of it. Now that he had the mental cultivation method and Yi Qinghan's slow-motion finger imprint, it was much easier to cultivate. Xia Zhaoyang says, but their future achievements wouldn't be far as was. Their combined, thems, their future achievements is. But there's. Kings' Emperor, rulers Bo Aishing and Golden Thunder Dragon Rock followed Yi Qinghan into Dragon Rock Palace. They all looked worried. Clearly, they were worried that if Xia Zhaoyang successfully cultivated the Saint Killer Finger, who would be able to suppress him in the future? Yi Qinghan, you don't seem to be afraid of Xia Zhaoyang becoming an undying immortal, said Jin. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and said, if he wants to become an undying immortal, he'll have to cultivate the Sacred Finger Seal to perfection and fuse it with 3 finger techniques. He hasn't even cultivated the 3rd finger. How can he become an undying immortal? Don't worry, I can't even comprehend the 3rd finger technique of the Sacred Killing Finger, let alone teach it to him. When they fully comprehend the 2nd finger technique of the Sacred Killing Finger, my immortal sect 5 elements Golden Bell Shield and teleportation technique can advance to the 5th level. By then, I won't have to be afraid of them. Actually, you don't have to compromise with Xia Zhaoyang now. GD and Tong Tian High Sage won't help him. Isn't Tong Tian your master? Let's join forces and kill the Spectre Patriarch first. Xia Zhaoyang won't be able to do anything if he's left alone, reminded Universal Love Saint. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. The world's warning had already told him that he couldn't trust any of the 4 great sages. In the end, he still had to rely on himself. If he didn't maintain the balance today and only gave the immortal techniques to Tong Tian and GD, would they let him go when they became undying immortals? Maintaining the balance was very important. AI, you don't understand. Yi Qinghan sighed and shook his head. Forget it, I'll pass on the Sacred Finger Seal to you. I can only tell you not to trust GD and Tong Tian High Sage too much. They'll turn on each other sooner or later. When that time comes, I'll still need to maintain the balance. GD, Tong Tian, and Xia Zhaoyang must maintain the balance, while you too must maintain the balance with GD and Tong Tian. Universal Love Saint's pupils constricted and he felt an inexplicable panic. He was afraid that GD and Yi Qinghan would fall out in the end. Yi Qinghan patted Universal Love Saint's shoulder and said gently, don't worry, as long as GD doesn't attack me directly, I won't be too calculative with him. Why is it like this? Wasn't everything fine before? Universal Love Saint asked helplessly. Yi Qinghan couldn't explain too much and shook his head. He condensed his cultivation experience and sent it directly to Universal Love Saint and Golden Thunder Dragon Rock. He whispered, now that Xia Zhaoyang, Tong Tian, and GD are cultivating immortal techniques, our time is even shorter. In the end, our enemy may not be the evil soul, but one of the 3 of them. The worst-case scenario is that the 3 of them work together and you 2 have to walk in front of them. After sending the cultivation experience to the 2, Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said, I'm going to go into seclusion and try to advance to the next level. My strength will at least be comparable to a great sage. In the next 5 years, "Don't disturb me unless something important happens." After saying that, Yi Qinghan entered the depths of the Dragon Rock Palace and took out the Water of Life essence and the Chaos Immortal Herb. Right now, any kind of resource would be a waste. The most useful immortal treasure would be to consume them and help him level up. Yi Qinghan condensed the Immortal Seal runes and the 5th level of the Immortal Sect 5 Elements Golden Bell shield appeared. A drop of Water of Life essence fell into his mouth and quickly turned into the power of a great sage that flowed through his limbs and bones. The terrifying power filled his golden body and provided support for his cultivation. The Dragon Rock Palace shone with golden light. Even the palace couldn't block this light. Xia Zhiyang and the others were cultivating the sacred annihilation finger. Although they were startled awake for a moment, they didn't think too much about it. They quickly entered their cultivation period and didn't want to waste any time. Everyone wanted to be one step ahead and surpass the others. Right now, no one directly suppressed Yi Qinghan and snatched the immortal technique. That was because there was a balance of power. Whoever made a move against Yi Qinghan, everyone would rush forward to help Yi Qinghan. They would express their goodwill to him and hope to obtain more immortal technique insights. Only the Spectre Patriarch was unwilling to give up and paced around the edge of the ocean. His killing intent soared to the heavens, wanting nothing more than to crush Yi Qinghan into pieces. Little did he know that Yi Qinghan had the support of the Chaos Immortal Herb and the Water of Life essence. 5 years later, even if Yi Qinghan couldn't kill him, he could forget about defeating Yi Qinghan. The gap between them was shrinking. Yi Qinghan's power was rising rapidly. Heaven and earth rumbled as if in celebration. At the edge of Eternal World's continent, after seeing the outcome, the judge restrained his aura and hid somewhere to cultivate bitterly. He hoped to step into the Great Sage Realm. In order to kill evil souls, the Great Sage Realm was a must. Thus, he obtained the essence of the Spring of Life. The order of the Oshi sacred ground collapsed and the Spring of Life ceased to exist. Chapter 2202. The order of the Oshi sacred land had collapsed. The mountains and rivers were in chaos, and the origin of the Spring of Life had been taken away by the adjudicators. All spirits continued to head west and had already escaped to the edge of the West Sea. The experts built huge ships, like Noah's Ark, that could carry hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of ships were built at the same time, hoping to take more people with them. Some experts also wanted to dominate dreams in the apocalypse, rearing their own kind to serve them. But in this apocalypse, everyone wanted to live. So what if they became slaves? So, countless people were willing to board the ships. On the Dragon Rock continent, the Spectre Patriarch had been standing on the sea for 5 years. He was burning with anger and wanted to crush Yi Qinghan. As a great saint, he was being yelled at and treated differently by a minor saint. This was intolerable. But at this moment, the Dragon Rock Palace was bathed in golden light. Several floors of the palace seemed to be gilded with gold. Yi Qinghan had been in seclusion for 5 years. During these 5 years, he didn't even come out to take a breather. He was racing against time to comprehend immortal techniques. The Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield and Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Teleportation Technique were more difficult to comprehend than the Star-Plucking Hand. Once they were used, even if he cultivated to the 5th level, a great saint wouldn't be able to do anything to him. In these 5 years, Yi Qinghan had devoured the Chaos Immortal Herb and half a bottle of the Spring of Life Essence. But his gains were bountiful. Not only did he successfully reach the 5th level of the Immortal Sect's 5 Elements Golden Bell Shield and Teleportation Technique, but he also comprehended 1/10 of the 3rd finger of the Sacred Annihilation Finger. The 3rd finger of the Sacred Annihilation Finger was too difficult to comprehend. If it wasn't for the blessing of heaven and Yi Qinghan, he might not be able to comprehend it even if he had 500 years, let alone 5 years. In the 5th year, Yi Qinghan put down his hands and the finger seals disappeared. He couldn't help but sigh and murmured, "Immortal techniques are immortal techniques. If it wasn't for the Chaos Immortal Herb and half a bottle of the Spring of Life Essence, I'm afraid these 5 years would have been wasted." Yi Qinghan got up and stood by the window on the 2nd floor of the Dragon Rock Palace. He looked downstairs at the 3 great sages, Golden Thunder Dragon Rock, and Universal Love Saint, who were still painstakingly comprehending the first two moves of the Saint Destroyer finger. Other than Universal Love Saint, the three great sages and Golden Thunder Dragon Rock had already begun to practice. The power produced was much stronger than Yi Qinghan's. This was the difference between a great saint and a little saint. Boom! Bang! The Saint Destroyer fingerprints took the sky and tore apart the long river. The momentum was extremely terrifying. The entire Dragon Rock continent fell into a dead silence. In these 5 years, the thousands of races had lost their laughter. They were all frightened by these auras and did not dare to say anything. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 4 silhouettes flashed through the air, their speed increasing. The Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was even faster. His strength was even stronger than the Absolute Saints. In terms of strength, he could actually suppress the Supreme Saints. In these 5 years, Golden Thunder Dragon Rock's improvement was the greatest. He was almost about to step into the Great Sage realm. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as he stared at Golden Thunder Dragon Rock in the distance. His hands were holding the edge of the window. His eyes were wandering. No one knew what he was thinking. After a long time, Yi Qinghan muttered to himself, "Where did the evil souls go in these 5 years? They didn't continue to pester me and these great sages. Did they go to the eternal world?" Yi Qinghan was vaguely worried. There was not even a single great sage in the eternal world. There was no one who could resist the attack of the evil souls. As long as he stepped into the eternal world, he could raise the entire eternal world to the ground in 100 years. Although he did not particularly care about the life and death of the common people, he did not want to see the eternal world destroyed like this. Moreover, Fan Yin and the great sages of the Kuang sect were still in the eternal world. Xiao He, Chess' venerable saint, and the others were considered to be on good terms. Sigh, it's beyond my reach. I really can't do anything. Yi Qinghan raised a bitter smile. He was very helpless. Yi Qinghan turned and went downstairs. When he walked out of the Dragon Rock Palace, Universal Love Saint was sitting at the entrance of the palace, bitterly cultivating immortal techniques. Her strength was far inferior to that of a great sage. She did not even have the qualifications to fight. She could only slowly comprehend them. The speed of her improvement was even slower. The moment Yi Qinghan appeared outside the Dragon Rock Palace, Universal Love Saint woke up. She got up and looked at Yi Qinghan. She jumped up excitedly and asked excitedly, "How is your cultivation going? Did you enter the Great Sage realm?" Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He held Universal Love Saint's jade-like hand and whispered, "How can the Great Sage realm be so easy? Without a few thousand years of consolidation, I'm afraid I won't be able to reach the Great Sage realm. However, the average Great Sage cannot hurt me." "Then can the Holy Lord hurt you?" Universal Love Saint asked expectantly. Yi Qinghan had not fought with the Holy Lord before, but he knew that the Holy Lord was at the peak of the Great Sage. He was the undisputed #1 in the world. Now, other than the evil spirit, no one could do anything to him. If he wanted to fight against the Holy Lord, he had to at least fully comprehend the Saint Destroyer finger. He had to successfully comprehend all 3 fingerprints. Xia Zhaoyang has now cultivated the first 2 moves of the Saint Destroyer finger. Although it's only a small success, it's still possible for him to kill me. However, I'm not at his mercy now. With the protection of the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock, he can't do anything to me, Yi Qinghan whispered. Phew, Universal Love Saint breathed a sigh of relief. Now the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock was about to enter the Great Sage realm. He was only 1 step away. If he entered the Great Sage realm and joined forces with Yi Qinghan to deal with Xia Zhaoyang, it was unknown who would win. Yi Qinghan stepped into the square. When the 3 great sages, the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock and the Golden Thunder Dragon Rock, saw Yi Qinghan, they were ecstatic. They all wanted to continue comprehending the space-piercing star-picking hand. Even if it was only 1 move, it was still an immortal technique. Sect Master Yi, the 5-year time limit has passed. I wonder if you can teach us the first move of the space-piercing star-picking hand? Xia Zhaoyang asked expectantly. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He did not want to act shamelessly. Instead, he wanted to use the three great sages to deal with the evil spirit. He nodded and said, "No problem. However, we should set off for the great world's continent." Xia Zheyang frowned and replied, "Sect Master Yi, isn't it a little too early to fight the evil spirit to the death? I think we should cultivate to the peak before fighting the evil spirit. That way, the evil spirit won't have a chance to escape." Yi Qinghan stared at Xia Zheyang and said indifferently, "Holy Lord, do you not care about the lives of the people in your holy empire? Once your 9 disciples are found by the evil spirit, do you think they have a chance to escape?" Xia Zheyang snorted and said, "When necessary, we have to sacrifice some people. Otherwise, even if we go to the great world's continent, we won't be able to save them." Yi Qinghan laughed coldly and looked at the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and the Holy Emperor. He realized that they were unwilling to return to the continent at this time. Indeed, the warning of the world's consciousness was correct. They could not be relied on at the most critical time. "I think the Holy Lord is right. When necessary, we have to sacrifice some people. However, this is not the time to do so. I have to go to the great world's continent. You are willing to give up your holy lands and people, but I will not give up on the insane sect. If you want to go, then come with me. If you don't want to go, then don't talk to me about any deals in the future." After Yi Qinghan finished speaking, he waved his sleeves and stepped into the sea. Jin Lei Longpeng immediately said, "Comrade Yi, wait for me for a while. I will go with you after I give some instructions." After he finished speaking, Jin Lei Longpeng quickly gathered all the sages on the continent. There were dozens of them. After he gave some simple instructions, he stood firmly by Yi Qinghan's side. Holy Lord Xiazheng, the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage and the Holy Emperor were not willing to let Yi Qinghan go. However, they did not want to fall out with him. They could only grit their teeth and agree. Chapter 2203. On the Dragon Rock continent, Yi Qinghan forced the 3 great sages to follow him to the outside world. Even if they couldn't kill the sinful soul, they could force him to retreat and preserve a pure land for the outside world. At the very least, they could ensure the safety of the insane sect. The temptation of immortal arts was endless. Once Yi Qinghan made up his mind, Xia Zhaoyang had no choice but to compromise. In the end, the 3 great sages and the Golden Lightning Dragon Rock all chose to go to the outside world. The Spectre Patriarch watched as Yi Qinghan, Xia Zhaoyang, and the others braved the waves and stepped into the ocean. Although he resented Yi Qinghan, he didn't dare to say anything. He could only follow in silence. Yi Qinghan and the sinful soul had been chasing each other for 100 years to reach this place. Even though his cultivation had improved a lot, it would take him at least 80 years to return. Whoosh 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 dot whoosh. The 4 great sages moved as fast as lightning, but the Golden Lightning Dragon Rock was even faster. He spread his wings and soared 100,000 miles, several times faster than before. While the 4 great sages were on their way, the sinful soul was on his way as well. 5 years earlier, he was much faster than before. He had evolved to the point where he could merge with the ocean like a sea beast. The vast ocean was no longer a hindrance, but a help. 5 years was enough for the sinful soul, who had surpassed the great sage level, to rush far away and leave Yi Qinghan and the others in the dust. The sinful soul was no longer paranoid. He understood that the 4 great sages, Yi Qinghan, and the Golden Lightning Dragon Rock were enough to hold him back. They could even suppress him. Even if they couldn't kill him, they could bind him for tens of thousands of years. Therefore, he gave up on devouring the power of the great sages and stopped thinking about immortal arts. Instead, he wanted to go to the outside world to devour everything and evolve his power. Time flew by like a shuttle. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. On the mainland of the outside world, every clan lived in fear. Even though the outside world had been peaceful for more than 100 years, no one knew when the sinful soul would appear in the outside world. The true powerhouses had all disappeared, and even the saints had fled. Those powerful sects without saints or great saints had no other choice but to wait for death to come. The arbiter held the judgment in his hand and remained silent for decades. Now that he had reappeared and was patrolling the macro world, He blamed himself as he looked at the terrified beings. His state of mind was also slowly changing. Now, he was about to step into the great saint realm. As expected of someone favored by the heavens, his cultivation speed was even faster than Yi Qinghan's. At the end of the immortal peach tree's escape route, in the depths of the desolate land of nothingness, the immortal peach tree took root in the desolate land of nothingness. The leaves of the immortal peach tree swayed and emitted immortal light. In the desolate land of nothingness, a territory the size of a normal desolate land of nothingness was created. Bai Hua Fairy scattered the seeds, and a small desolate land of nothingness was slowly being born. This clearly wasn't the Genesis stage, but it was more terrifying than the Great Sage stage. It could be considered to be all-powerful and omnipotent. The saints of the insane sect, Green Lotus Sword Fairy, Lin Bufan, and the others were waiting slowly in the desolate land. The inner disciples of the insane sect were all released and were cultivating hard in the desolate land of nothingness. With the protection of the immortal peach tree, their cultivation speed was much faster than in the macro world. They didn't know how long they had been waiting. Bailey Chenxiang returned from the outside world, looking tired and helpless. Sigh, there's still no news. Yi Qinghan is missing, and even the evil soul is nowhere to be found. Countless beings in the macro world are still in fear of the unknown. Bailey Chenxiang came in front of the immortal peach tree, sat under the tree dispiritedly, and said unwillingly. The immortal peach tree swayed on the branches and asked in a low voice, "What about the 4 great saints? Where are the other minor saints?" "Grandpa, the 4 great saints are also missing. Most of the other minor saints are in the coiling dragon realm. Some of them have also escaped into our escape route and are constantly gathering here. Moreover, they are now tit for tat and are still not united," Bailey Chenxiang said angrily. At this moment, Green Lotus Sword Fairy came from afar and mocked. "Humans have always been like this." The immortal peach tree didn't care about the minor saints. It only cared about the survival of the macro world, the whereabouts of the adjudicator, Yi Qinghan, and the 4 great saints. "Where is the adjudicator?" the immortal peach tree continued to ask. Bailey Chenxiang immediately said, "The adjudicator is still in the macro world. His cultivation is approaching the great saint realm. He is traveling the world and comprehending the saint technique." Whooshed, the immortal peach tree transformed into a human, and its old face showed a trace of doubt and depression. "That shouldn't be. Chenxiang, you are the spirit of flowers. You can sense where there are flowers. Why can't you find the whereabouts of Yi Qinghan and the evil soul? Is there not a single flower at their location?" The immortal peach elder frowned and looked into the distance, muttering to himself, "Did they escape the macro world and go to the higher level immortal realm? That's even more impossible. Let's not talk about whether there is an immortal realm or not. Even if there is, how can they enter the immortal realm with their cultivation?" The immortal peach tree didn't dare to confirm whether there were immortals or whether there was an illusory immortal realm. However, its powerful creation soul could sense that there was always someone better. It wasn't surprising that there were immortals. Bailey Chenxiang's fairy-like face also showed doubt. Logically, as long as there were flowers, she could sense them. However, there was a limit to the distance. If it was deep in the ocean or at the edge of the boundless ocean, she might not be able to sense them. The spirit of flowers, the immortal of flowers. This was Bailey Chenxiang's advantage. Wherever there were flowers, she was immortal. However, her fighting power was not as strong as a saint. Perhaps she could be considered the weakest immortal. She was completely useless. She was good at gathering information. Green Lotus Sword Immortal stared in the direction of the small domain and asked indifferently, "Right now, our escape route is full of people. Once the evil soul returns, he will definitely follow this route and kill his way over. It's only a matter of time before he finds us. Should we prepare for both sides?" The immortal peach elder shook his head and said hoarsely, "There is no other way. Unless the heavens take pity on us and open a path for us to go to another balanced world. However, the balanced world's consciousness will also stop us foreign species and will wantonly hunt us. Rather than hoping for the heavens to take pity on them, they might as well wait for death. Green Lotus Sword Immortal shook his head and didn't ask any more. Dozens of years later, at the edge of the macro world, a figure appeared. His aura was restrained. Wherever the evil aura passed, there was a smell of decay. Everything withered and death spread. It was the evil soul that had disappeared for nearly 200 years. Now, the baleful aura on his body had turned red. This meant that his cultivation had evolved again. His eyes pierced through the void. His red eyes were like the sun, able to see through everything. Finally, his gaze locked onto the coiling dragon island. Gulp, whoosh! The evil soul licked the corner of his mouth and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His figure moved and he stepped onto the coiling dragon island. In just 2 hours he entered the island and kept flashing towards the coiling dragon realm. Chapter 2204. The evil soul appeared, the flowers died, and the spirits decayed. An aura of death enveloped coiling dragon island. The spies placed on the island were swallowed by the evil aura before they could even send out a message. Only a decaying corpse was left in the withered forest. Bailey Chenxiang, who was far away from the land of nothingness, quickly received the news. She sent a message to the humans in Coiling Dragon Realm through the spirit of flowers. Then she immediately summoned a peach tree branch. The branch swayed and blocked the aura of death. She rushed into the depths of the nothingness. Whoosh whoosh! A few months later, half a month later, Bailey Chenxiang appeared in this newly opened territory. She stepped on land and rushed to the front of the peach tree. "Grandpa, it's not good. The evil soul has appeared. Yi Qinghan and the 4 great saints haven't appeared yet. Coiling Dragon Realm has so many hidden people. It's probably over," Bailey Chenxiang hurriedly shouted. The peach tree's thick branches swayed and turned into a human shape. His old face was full of helplessness. "But I can't see it at all," the old man said sadly. If no one could restrain the evil soul, no matter how many humans there were, it would be useless. At most, they could unite and form a boundary to block the evil soul for 3 to 5 months. It would be good if they could block it for 2 years. Green Lotus Sword Fairy held the immortal sword and was silent for a long time. She had no choice. Half of her origin was missing. She almost lost half of her life. Her combat power was a mess. She couldn't hold the evil soul. She couldn't even protect the remaining half of her origin. Green Lotus Sword Fairy's slender fingers flicked the immortal sword. The immortal sword let out a crisp sound that spread into the distance. This sword intent was full of resistance and destruction. Lin Wutian, who was standing in the distance, could feel Green Lotus Sword Fairy's current state of mind. His figure flashed and appeared beside her. He bowed and said, "Senior, is there anything I can do for you?" Green Lotus Sword Fairy looked up at Lin Wutian. In the past 200 years, she had done everything she could to cultivate Lin Wutian. The peach tree had given him more than 10 ripe peaches, all for Lin Wutian to enjoy. Now he was almost a great saint. His combat power was even more terrifying than Green Lotus Sword Fairy's. His combat power was comparable to a great saint's. His defense was even more frightening. "Your master is unreliable. Take my immortal sword and entangle the evil souls. Don't be impatient for quick success. Seek stability, not success. Understand?" Green Lotus Sword Immortal said in a deep voice. The old man looked at Lin Wutian and said in a deep voice, "Lin Wutian, the reason why I put all my effort into training you is because I want you to help me when the time comes. Your talent is definitely in the top 5 among all the people I have seen. The others are all destined by the heavens. We can't compare ourselves with them. But you relied on yourself. You also had the opportunity to reach this stage. It's time to give something back." At this moment, Lin Wutian was as handsome as a tree in the wind. His aura was quite similar to Yi Qinghan's domineering aura. He had been greatly influenced by Yi Qinghan. Lin Wutian took the Green Lotus Immortal Sword and bowed. "If I die in battle, I hope you 2 seniors can wait for my master to come back and apologize for me. I can't serve him anymore." Boom! Lin Wutian's aura exploded. He and his sword became one. Death chi spread out in all directions. Green Lotus Sword Fairy and Immortal Peach Elder nodded in satisfaction. Lin Wutian only lacked fate. Otherwise, no one knew what his future would be like. Perhaps the heavens didn't want to see anyone escape their control. That's why they didn't choose him as their favorite. Green Lotus Sword Immortal turned to the immortal Peach Elder and said crisply, "This child was raised by me. I trust his character. Immortal Peach Elder, he is willing to die. Are you still willing to keep him alive?" The immortal Peach Elder took a deep breath. His white hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were filled with determination. "If the heavens don't decide, then I will." Lin Wutian was stunned. He didn't expect the immortal Peach Elder to hold back. The immortal Peach Elder waved his hand and condensed a dark green crystal. It was only the size of a fingertip, but it was filled with immortal power and bathed in immortal light. "These are immortal crystals that I've collected over countless years. I don't know where they came from, or why they appeared in my life essence, but I do know that they are filled with life force. With them, you can easily reach the Great Sage level. Originally, I wanted to give them to your master, but he's not reliable," the immortal Peach Elder said helplessly. Lin Wutian's mouth twitched. He knew Yi Qinghan best. It wasn't that he wasn't reliable, but that he was entangled. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left the Kuang sect for so long. Not appearing for 200 years was unprecedented. However, he didn't explain anything. Those who understood Yi Qinghan would understand. Those who didn't wouldn't understand even if he explained. "Thank you for the treasure. I've never fought with an evil soul, so I can't guarantee anything. But as long as I don't die, he won't be able to break through the land of desolation." Lin Wutian took the immortal crystal and held the immortal sword in his hand. He swung the sword to disperse the deathly aura. His figure flashed, and he rushed toward the small domain. At the edge of the small domain, countless creatures were wandering in despair. In front of them was the Grim Reaper, and behind them was a land of death. Whoosh! Lin Wutian's figure flashed out of the land of desolation and appeared in the crowd, causing a commotion. Many people thought that the land of desolation was not dangerous and rushed in directly. However, as soon as they touched the deathly aura, they lost consciousness. Their souls were killed and their bodies fell into the chaos. Don't enter the land of desolation. Even a saint can't escape the deathly aura, let alone you. Lin Wutian looked around and reminded them in a deep voice. "It's a great saint. He's a great saint." The helpless creatures seemed to have found refuge. They knelt down and begged, hoping that Lin Wutian would protect their last chance of survival. Lin Wutian shook his head. His handsome face showed a trace of helplessness. This time, he didn't know if he could come back alive. He couldn't even protect himself. But he had no choice. Green Lotus Sword Saint had trained him and taught him the Green Lotus Sword song. The peach tree had given him more than 10 peach trees and immortal crystals. How could he not die? Whoosh, whoosh, Lin Wutian held his sword and stepped on the rhythm of heaven and earth. A tragic aura rushed out of his body. His figure flashed, and he rushed toward the secret territory of Coiling Dragon. In the Coiling Dragon's secret realm, the resentment of the sinful souls was finally vented. Half of the secret realm had fallen. If this continued, the sinful souls would break out of the secret realm in less than half a year and enter the escape route of the immortal peach tree. At this moment, Lin Wutian held the immortal crystal in his mouth and tried to absorb the energy in it. However, he didn't slow down. Instead, he sped up. The sword aura in his hand soared into the sky. Countless people in the small territories knelt down and cheered. It was as if they saw someone finally come out to fight the evil soul. Xiaohe, Chess Venerable Saint, and the other saints had already hidden in this small territory. They looked up and saw Lin Wutian rushing toward the secret territory of Coiling Dragon. They were surprised and happy. Lin Wutian had come out, so Yi Qinghan shouldn't be too far away. 90% of the saints in the macro world were here. The 9 prefecture lords were also here. Only the great saints weren't here. Their eyes were filled with despair, let alone the ordinary people. Chapter 2205. Lin Wutian did not greet the others, but there was a hint of longing in his eyes. Occasionally, he would look back at the end of the world. He could not bear to part with the Guangzong and many other things. Countless people poured into the small region, and it was overcrowded. If it were not for the saints maintaining order, the small region would have collapsed long ago. Only Lin Wutian went against the flow. He walked with his sword, and the sky mourned. Perhaps it was out of guilt, or perhaps it was to send Lin Wutian off. Yi Qinghan, the four great sages, Jin Lei, Long Rock, and Jin Lei were behind the evil soul by 5 years. 5 years was enough time for many things to change. It could even destroy half of a great world. In 5 years, Lin Wutian definitely wouldn't be able to withstand the evil soul's attacks. Lin Wutian did not know when Yi Qinghan would return, so at this moment, he did not have any hope. But he rushed forward without hesitation, hoping to buy time for Yi Qinghan to come back. He did not want to save the world, but only wanted the Guangzhong to be spared. At this moment, the evil souls had pushed their way to the center of the Coiling Dragon's secret territory. The place where Bailey Chenxiang had brought Yi Qinghan to was also the place where Yi Qinghan had asked for countless high-grade sacred medicines. Now, it was a mess and there was a strong evil aura. Nothing could stop the evil souls. Everything was in chaos. Except for the stones, everything had become rotten and scattered when the wind blew. The panicked crowd broke through the barrier set by the peach tree and fled into the escape route. Desperate screams and cries intertwined. The real end of the world had just begun. Lin Wutian appeared in the Coiling Dragon's secret territory after more than half a year. Countless strong cultivators were trampling on each other, and thousands of creatures were crying. But the moment Lin Wutian appeared, they all quieted down and watched helplessly as Lin Wutian went against the flow and entered the Coiling Dragon's secret territory alone. Lin Wutian gathered his saint power and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, calm down. Let the children and women enter the passage of the small region first. Strong cultivators stand guard on both sides. The evil souls will not be able to kill them so quickly." The majestic voice was like an ancient bell. With a slight vibration, it spread for tens of thousands of miles and exploded in the sea of consciousness of all living beings. Countless people looked at the young Lin Wutian. Although they couldn't tell what realm he was at, they could tell that he was at least a saint from the powerful saint aura and terrifying sword chi on his body. The other saints had fled, and only Lin Wutian was coming from behind. Everyone was moved to tears. They all slowed down and began to show respect to the weak. Not many people recognized Lin Wutian. An old man trembled as he walked forward with a walking stick. He asked in a hoarse voice, "I don't know who you are, Supreme Sage. Do you have the confidence to block the evil souls and preserve a chance of survival for the people?" Lin Wutian was silent for a while before he said loudly, "I am Lin Wutian, a second-generation disciple of the crazy sect. I can't guarantee how long I can block the evil soul, but before my body falls, the evil soul will not enter the small domain. The endless small regions were the last chance for the big world to survive. Once the Coiling Dragon's secret realm was breached, half of the big world would be destroyed. The crazy sect. Some time ago, everyone knew that the 18 saints of the crazy sect had occupied the Shrouding Sky secret realm. Even the holy nations didn't dare to say a word. Many people had only heard of them but never seen them. Now they finally saw one. Of the 18 saints of the crazy sect, why are you the only one here? Are they the second line of defense behind us?" Many people shouted expectantly. Lin Wutian looked back and glanced at all the living beings. He clenched the green lotus immortal sword tightly and said lightly, "The eternal minor saints are as helpless as you are. However, when there is no way out, they will fight to the death. But I still want to remind you that before this great calamity, it is better to rely on yourself than others. Only by being united can you have a chance to survive. At least you can live longer than others. If you all want to escape, you will die." Everyone was silent. Even the saints were helpless. So what if they united? Lin Wutian looked at the people who had no intention to fight and knew that they had lost the battle before it even began. Without a miracle, the big world would inevitably be destroyed. Sigh, with a sigh, the immortal sword vibrated and played the green lotus sword song, singing the sorrow of the heavens. Whoosh! Lin Wutian stood with the sword in his hand. The sword chi rushed to the sky. He and the sword became one, penetrating the mountains and rivers. The sword in his hand emitted a green light. 3 green lotuses appeared on his back, forming the 3 flowers at one's prominence. Green light flowed around his body. Hum, 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 hum. Thousands of swords flew out of their sheaths. They rushed into the sky and surrounded Lin Wutian. Sword light shone in all directions. Boom! Lin Wutian stepped forward again. The evil soul had already stepped into the back of the coiling dragon's secret realm. They were only a few million miles away from each other. They could feel each other's breath. The evil soul was a little surprised. He did not expect that there would be such a strong cultivator with such a strong sword chi behind them. His cultivation level was close to that of a great saint. His combat power was probably much stronger than an ordinary great saint. Most importantly, his lethality was also terrifying. He had the power to kill a saint. It seemed that he had cultivated a celestial way, and a murderous one at that. A human being can cultivate such a sword will. The evil soul frowned. He knew about Green Lotus Sword Saint. After all, he was an existence that gathered the souls of countless creatures. The Green Lotus Sword Song might not be known by many people today, but in the past, who did not know about it? If he steps into the Great Saint realm, his strength should be stronger than Green Lotus Sword Saint. This is the second person who threatens my life. I must not let him live. The evil soul's sea of consciousness flashed. A figure appeared in his mind. It was Yi Qinghan. He cultivated many celestial ways, and his moves did not follow the rules. He could not see how far this kind of person would go. However, he knew that Yi Qinghan could indeed threaten his life. That was a warning from his subconscious. The evil soul gave up on erasing other lives and went straight to the end of the coiling dragon's secret realm. His eyes pierced through the void and looked directly at Lin Wutian. Puny human, even great saints do not dare to fight against me. I admire your courage. You dare to stand in front of me and draw your sword. The evil soul's aura was monstrous. He wanted to crush Lin Wutian's fighting spirit. Lin Wutian stood proudly like a celestial sword. He did not move forward. His eyes looked at the evil soul. Sword chi shot out from his eyes. His fighting spirit was like a rainbow. How could his fighting spirit be destroyed by the enemy's strength? The sword's song moves, the sorrow of the common people. When the celestial sword comes out, the way of the sword is mine alone. Lin Wutian turned into a war god, standing with his sword in his hand. He looked down at the evil souls that were rushing towards him. His voice was like thunder, rolling and rumbling. Others call you evil souls, but I call you resentful souls. The one who owes you is not the common people, but the Saint Master, Xia Zhaoyang. You have destroyed the world, but the one who owes you is not the heavens, but you. Today you stop here. I am willing to abandon my sword. If you dare to take another step forward, I dare to draw my sword and die. Chapter 2206. Lin Wutian was already prepared to die. At this time, he looked at the evil soul that was rushing towards him. Facing this evil soul that even a great saint would not want to fight, he did not have any hope of victory. However, he was different from a great saint. He was a murderous saint. He did not defend but only attacked. His attack was too strong. Coupled with the Green Lotus Sword Song, even the evil soul would feel threatened. The evil soul smiled and looked at Lin Wutian. He licked his lips involuntarily, as if he saw Lin Wutian as the perfect food. Survival of the fittest. Young man, you are still young. Can't you see this? The evil soul sneered coldly. Don't you need resources for your cultivation? Why are you swallowing immortal herbs and holy treasures? Now that it's your turn to be food, why are you so righteous? Lin Wutian held the immortal sword and became one with it. The Green Lotus Sword Song was on the verge of exploding, but he was not ready to attack yet. He was trying to persuade the evil soul. Because you and I are both human. Have you ever seen a living herb swallowing its own kind? Lin Wutian asked. No, you and I are not the same kind. I am an extraordinary existence. As for you, no matter how powerful your cultivation is, it's not like you can fight to the death. You're just ants, food, Lin Wuqian knew that there was no need to say too much. There was only one way left. Then let's fight. Not for the common people, but for the sect. The green lotus immortal sword shook the clouds and played the song of swords. The sword light tore through the sky, surrounded by thousands of swords, and attacked the evil soul. They exploded as soon as they got close, and the sky exploded into a black hole. Unfortunately, the evil soul's chi leaked out and blocked the destructive power of the explosion from 10 miles away. Boom! Bang! Bang! Not only thousands of swords, but even the branches in the distance were torn apart and turned into sharp swords that rushed toward the evil soul. Lin Wuqian held the sword with both hands and kept forming seals. The runes of the sword of slaying the immortal sword were added to the sword. His aura was extraordinary, and he was more lethal than a supreme saint. The sword's song moves, the sorrow of the common people. The immortal sword comes out, the only way of the sword. Green lotus sword song, soul seizing and saint slaying, Boom! Lin Wuqian stomped on the ground and turned into a sharp sword that could split the sky and earth. The friction in the void created monstrous flames, and he rushed in front of the sinful soul like a thunderbolt. The evil soul didn't want to dodge, nor could he dodge, because the speed was too fast and the area covered was too wide. Boom! The great sage war body punched out with its iron fist, using its fleshly body to punch at the immortal sword. Black baleful energy swirled around the fist, forming a defensive airflow that could tear through space-time, shattering it and devouring the surrounding mountains and rivers. Boomed at their immortal swords and fists collided fiercely. In an instant, a shockwave swept out, spreading for thousands of miles. The mountains within 3,000 miles were razed to the ground. Buzz.roar. Lin Wuqian's sword song stirred up the melody of heaven and earth. Lin Wuqian's sword power was like a rainbow, pressing down on the sinful soul with unstoppable force. Bang bang bang. Boomed at the defensive barrier around the sinful soul's fist was about to be cut apart and caved in. He had no choice but to retreat. Step by step, he left behind a footprint. Only after retreating for 300 miles did he stabilize himself. Crack crack crack. The protective barrier formed by the baleful aura was shattered. The sinful soul controlled the great sage body and directly grabbed the tip of the green lotus immortal sword. Boom! The sinful soul put his palms together and held the back of the immortal sword. His legs seemed to be rooted to the ground. His body swayed, and all of Lin Wuqian's sword aura and power poured into the ground. The ground was torn apart, and a chasm stretched for thousands of miles, forming a shocking abyss. Lin Wuqian's sword burst out with power that even the green lotus immortal sword did not burst out with. It was pure swordsmanship, and the condensed sword intent was unstoppable. To be able to push the sinful soul back so far was enough to show his strength and explosive power. Unfortunately, the attack's endurance was not too exaggerated. At this moment, the peak power had passed. If the sword could not completely defeat Lin Wuqian, it would be impossible to defeat him again. Ant, no matter how strong you are still an ant. Remember, you are my food. The sinful soul's face was ferocious. He pulled back his palms and pulled Lin Wuqian in front of him. The baleful aura soared into the sky and wrapped around him. The baleful aura attached to the war body, but a dark green light burst out of Lin Wuqian's body and blocked the baleful aura. Boomed up, the sinful soul let go of the immortal sword and blasted Lin Wuqian's chest with his right palm. Bang! Lin Wuqian's reaction was as fast as lightning. Close combat was the advantage of the crazy sect. He held the sword in his left hand, and his right elbow was filled with majestic saint power and sword chi. It turned into an immortal sword and collided with the sinful soul's palm. Boom! 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 The two were originally close to each other, so they collided in an instant. Lin Wuqian grew up with Yi Qinghan. His physical body was inferior to Yi Qinghan's, but compared to other people in the world, he had an obvious advantage. He was not inferior to the war body of a supreme saint. At this moment he was only slightly inferior. He was directly pushed back more than 100 miles by the palm. His elbow joint was almost broken, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Crack, crack, crack. Lin Wuqian shook his right hand and breathed a sigh of relief. He said calmly, "It's not as terrible as I thought. Your baleful aura and soul can't invade my soul and body. Your combat strength is only SOS. It seems that I am still qualified for this task." The sinful soul's eyes glowed red. He stared at Lin Wuqian in disbelief. He could not figure out how Lin Wuqian, whose soul had not reached the Supreme Saint realm, could resist the invasion of his soul and baleful aura. That fairy crystal. It was the key reason why Lin Wuqian could block the sinful soul and baleful aura. Impossible! The sinful soul roared unwillingly. Suddenly he burst out. He opened his mouth and spat out baleful aura. It formed a terrible demon, carrying a majestic soul attack. Negative emotions covered Lin Wuqian. Boom. Lin Wuqian's sword pierced through the clouds. Sword chi shot out in all directions. He killed the demon formed by the baleful aura. The dark green light around his body covered his golden body, protecting his soul. The baleful aura and soul attacks damage to him was close to zero. Boom. Lin Wuqian was pushed back another 30 to 50 miles, but his soul was still unharmed. His body was still covered with holy light, and it did not seem to be invaded by the baleful aura at all. Puff, puff. Lin Wuqian exhaled a few times. He was wild with joy. He did not expect the fairy crystal given to him by the peach tree to be so effective. He could feel that his soul was growing stronger, and his realm was also rising. However, the fairy crystal in his mouth was rapidly shrinking. The fairy crystal was enough for him to reach the Supreme Saint realm, but he could not guarantee that there would be no fairy crystal to protect his soul when he reached the Supreme Saint realm. Could a Supreme Saint realm soul withstand the attack of the sinful soul? What are you holding in your mouth? The sinful soul stopped attacking. He found that the stronger his attack, the faster Lin Wuqian's soul became stronger. Lin Wuqian's realm was infinitely close to the Supreme Saint realm. He was not killing Lin Wuqian, but helping him to advance. Chapter 2207. The evil soul was puzzled. He couldn't think of any treasure that could resist his soul attack and evil spirit. Lin Wuqian's right cheek bulged a little, and there was an obvious dark green light blooming on his face. The evil soul didn't care about it before, but now he knew that Lin Wuqian must have something to rely on. Lin Wuqian smiled and clenched the immortal sword with both hands. His attack became more aggressive. "Do you think I, a little saint, would dare to behave atrociously in front of you?" Lin Wuqian smiled and pretended to be calm. The evil soul sneered and said coldly, "No matter how good the treasure is, it can't last for long. Even if you become a great saint today, so what? Human strength is limited, and I am unparalleled in the world." Whoosh! The evil soul stared at Lin Wuqian's head, wanting to snatch the treasure. His 5 claws tore through the void and fiercely clawed at Lin Wuqian's head. Whoosh! Lin Wuqian's figure flashed. He didn't take the initiative to fight because his strength couldn't cause any harm to the evil soul. So he chose to fight a battle of attrition. Suddenly, the two figures moved faster and faster, constantly fighting in the sky. The people standing at the edge of the distant coiling dragon's secret realm were extremely nervous. They were even more nervous than Lin Wuqian. The escape route of the immortal peach tree was overcrowded and couldn't accommodate so many people. At this time, the people who were still at the periphery couldn't enter the small realm anymore. They could only wait for the end of this battle to decide their fate. Boom, 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 boom. Thunder rumbled between heaven and earth as green lotuses bloomed. Countless sword flowers and baleful auras surged in all directions. Lin Wuqian of the insane sect had made a name for himself in this battle. However, everyone knew that he was gambling with his life. If he won, not only would he be able to save the insane sect, but he would also be able to survive. If he lost, he would be buried here. Countless people looked up at the sky. Although they couldn't see the traces of Lin Wuqian and the evil soul, they could roughly see their trajectories, especially when the immortal sword bloomed with green lotus. It was so soul-stirring and exciting. Between heaven and earth, the melody of the battle resounded. Let's provide faith and strength to the Supreme Saint. The heroes who stayed in the secret realm were excited. They were unwilling to wait for the slaughter, so they shouted one after another. Some even took out giant drums, and the sound of the drums shook the sky. Boom! Whoosh! In a split second, it was as if a magnificent army had passed through, causing everyone's blood to boil. Even if they died on the battlefield, it was nothing more than this. Everyone looked death in the eyes. Huff huff. The more Lin Wutian fought, the braver he became. His sword moved in all directions, driving the great Tao of heaven and earth. His sword energy soared into the sky. However, the immortal crystal in his mouth was already as small as the eye of a formation. His soul had entered the great sage level, but the soul attack from the evil soul was even more terrifying. The pressure was multiplied, and his soul was strengthened. Ha! Let's see how long your immortal treasure can last. The evil soul sensed that the dark green radiance on Lin Wutian's body was fading away. Lin Wutian's evil aura and soul attacks were no longer unbridled. Lin Wutian was overjoyed. He continued to unleash soul attacks. Negative emotions shrouded Lin Wutian. Then he coldly roared, "I'll let you enter the great sage realm." Boom! In an instant, the world was bathed in holy light. The might of the Supreme Saint was vast and mighty. Lin Wutian held his sword and flew in the sky, absorbing the blessings of the heavens. Great sage stage. Lin Wutian went against the flow, whistling as he bathed in immortal light. The dazzling light made all living beings unable to open their eyes. Even the sinful souls were somewhat irritated, extremely disgusted by this holy light. The evil soul roared. He stomped the ground, and his claws were as fast as lightning, grabbing at Lin Wutian's feet. Lin Wutian suddenly hung upside down in the sky, merged with his sword, and descended from the sky. Whoosh! Boom! Lin Wutian turned into a gorgeous flame, faster than lightning. With a sharp sword energy, he attacked the evil soul. Before he arrived, the sword energy had already shaken the ground, stirring up dust. Green Lotus Sword Song, Sword Path Only Me. Boom! Whoosh! Hum! The sword whistled with the power to destroy the world. The might of the Supreme Saint enveloped thousands of miles. The terrifying air waves suppressed the evil soul and forced him to the ground. Boom! 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 Crack! The evil soul's body of the Supreme Saint was undulating. His face was ferocious, and he could not even raise his head. Heinous sin. Devour all. The heavens rise and fall, only I am immortal. Roar! The evil soul roared, unwilling to be killed by a prey. In an instant, endless negative emotions drove the killing intent into the sky. The terrifying soul attack made even the Supreme Saints feel despair. Half of the coiling dragon's secret realm was shrouded in darkness. The people who were still at the edge of the secret realm were screaming, but they all fell to the ground in an instant. They were covered by the soul attack. No matter if it was an upper or lower level cultivator, or even a half-saint, they could not resist. Boom! Lin Wutian turned into a celestial sword and descended from the sky, carrying the great path of the heavens and the great path of the sword. It was as if there was only one person and one sword in the world. In the blink of an eye, he was already above the evil soul's head. No matter how terrifying the evil soul's defense was, it was destroyed by the celestial sword. Puff! The celestial sword pierced through the evil soul's palm and arm. The sword energy of the celestial sword affected the evil soul, causing him to scream in pain. But his angry palm also hit Lin Wutian's shoulder. Bang! Puff! Lin Wutian's body was attacked by endless evil energy and negative emotions. His sea of consciousness was muddled, and his body was like a kite with a broken string, smashing into the edge of the secret realm. Boom! Lin Wutian's body cracked, and his blood turned black. He dragged the celestial sword for more than 1,000 miles before he could stabilize himself. The saint robe on his body was shattered, and the 5-fingered black mark on his shoulder was clearly visible. Blurg! Puff! Lin Wutian vomited blood, and his body was sore and weak. His soul was wrapped in endless evil energy and negative emotions. His face was sometimes ferocious, sometimes angry, and sometimes resentful. He was on the verge of going mad, and even his soul was being controlled by the evil soul. At this time, the evil soul was also lying in a pool of blood. His body was bathed in golden supreme saint blood. Although the body was nothing to him, his soul had completely merged with the supreme saint body in order to control Bailey Longxian's supreme saint body. He could feel the pain. Ugh. Damn food, this is the first time I've been injured, and it was given to me by an ant like you. Today I will punish you. I will make you live in pain for all eternity. The evil soul roared, and the negative emotions became more intense. Ugh. Woo-woo. Endless despair filled Lin Wutian's sea of consciousness. Hatred, despair, killing, and other negative emotions stacked on top of each other, trying to tear his soul apart. At this moment, Lin Wutian seemed to see the Shura scene in the ancient tomb. It was as if he was there, and many elders of the insane sect were there. His wife, children, and juniors were there, so he could not suppress his anger and despair. Even the Supreme Saint's soul could not escape from the evil soul's attack. At this time, the little divine bird rushed out of the blood and shouted, "Boss, don't be fooled by the evil soul. The insane sect is still here, you can't give up." Lin Wutian had a splitting headache, and he could only hear some vague voices. He held his head and roared. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, and the veins on his arms were bulging. Chapter 2208. Lin Wutian's soul was filled with negative emotions. It was as if he could see countless friends and family of the crazy sect being killed and tortured. The corpses around him also looked like the members of the crazy sect. "Ah, no!" Lin Wutian screamed. His eyes were bleeding. He knelt on the ground and wailed in pain. The inner demon had invaded his soul. It was as if he was living in the most painful purgatory. Bus, wake up. The crazy sect is still here, and your master has been missing for a long time. How could he die here? The little divine bird roared and kept beating Lin Wutian's head with its wings, hoping to wake him up. However, Lin Wutian's body was invaded by evil spirits and his soul was out of control. He was attacked by the evil spirit at close range. Even the Supreme Saint's soul could not recover in a short time. Roar! A shrill roar came from afar. The evil spirit climbed out of the deep pit. He was not relaxed at the moment. It was the first time he had been injured since he was born, and it was so serious. His Supreme Saint war body was broken, and his arm was pierced through to his back. Golden Supreme Saint blood stained his body. The evil spirit rushed out of the ground and fell heavily to the ground. His tired legs were as heavy as lead, and he could not control the evil spirits in his body. However, the negative emotions were even more terrifying. The lethality of his soul was several times stronger than before. Not only would such an evil soul not weaken because of injury, but it would actually grow stronger. Unfortunately, his fleshly body was still a great sage. Injuries were injuries, and it was difficult for him to move. His fleshly body restricted his soul. The evil soul stared at Lin Wutian in the distance. His murderous aura was monstrous, but he didn't try to kill Lin Wutian. Otherwise, Bai Li Longxian's body would be destroyed because of his anger. Lin Wutian, do you see it? Your sect, your master, they are all dead. Look at their helpless eyes in the pool of blood. Look at their desperate souls. They have suffered the most painful torture in the world. The one who gave them such a tragic ending is none other than the sacred master, Xia Zheng. Boom! The evil spirit launched another soul attack to lure Lin Wutian. The soul attack surged and rushed into Lin Wutian's sea of consciousness. Lin Wutian, who was already possessed by the inner demon, became even more enraged. He waved his hand and smashed the little divine bird away. His eyes were red as he stared at the evil soul. His eyes were no longer clear, but filled with dark fog and malice. Look at the corpses around you. They were your brothers, seniors, and masters who had accompanied you as you grew up, but they were all dead. Don't you want revenge? The evil soul gave a cruel smile and said viciously, Xia Zheyang is incredibly powerful. If you want to take revenge, you must submit to me. Be my slave, and I will bring you to slaughter the common people, destroy the Xia Zheyang, create a new world, and revive your loved ones. Even if Lin Wutian was like a mad demon, his strong willpower and pride were still there. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he didn't need to submit to others and become their slave. At this moment, the little divine bird didn't dare to approach Lin Wutian anymore. He had completely gone mad. Without a strong external force, he wouldn't be able to wake up. I want to kill them. Lin Wutian gritted his teeth. His hatred was monstrous, but there was also a trace of willpower supporting the bottom line. He hated the evil spirit from the bottom of his heart. The divine sword in his hand trembled, and the sound of the sword was earth-shattering. The holy light between heaven and earth was still shrouding the earth, covering the mountains and rivers. The blessing of heaven was the key reason why Lin Wutian was able to hold on to his last line of defense. If it were not for the blessing of heaven, the world would really be finished. Boss, wake up. The people of the insane sect haven't been born yet. The evil spirit in front of you is the enemy. The little divine bird roared from afar. Lin Wutian's face was full of black gas, and his body was shrouded in a murderous aura. At this moment, he seemed to have heard the divine bird's roar. He frowned and turned to look at the little divine bird with his bloodshot eyes. He raised the divine sword in his hand, but slowly put it down. The evil spirit stared at the little divine bird with murderous intent and said coldly, "You ant, you want to ruin my plans? Then I'll send you to hell." Boom, roar. Although the evil spirit couldn't move his body, his powerful soul rushed toward the divine bird with murderous aura and negative emotions. It formed a huge devil, piercing through thousands of miles and swooping down from afar. The little divine bird was furious. Although it was a minor saint, its combat power was weaker than a rookie, and even weaker than Bailey Chinxiang. It didn't dare to fight the evil spirit, so it turned around and ran. Whoosh! Whoosh! The little divine bird flapped its wings and rushed to the back of Lin Wutian. Hum! Boom! The green lotus immortal sword shot out from Lin Wutian's hand, directly cutting off the evil spirit's attack. It was just a subconscious action, and he didn't restore his normal soul. The evil spirit saw Lin Wutian's attack, but he didn't provoke him. Instead, he stopped attacking and said coldly, "This ant is the enemy's spiritual pet. Are you helping the enemy?" Damn you! Evil spirit, don't talk nonsense. How did I become Xia Zhayang's spiritual pet? If you want to change his memory and tamper with his soul, you have to ask me first. The divine bird roared, "You freak! You're formed by the resentment, murderous aura, despair, and fear of countless people. You should hate Xia Zhaoyang. We're enemies with him. As the saying goes, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. Can you not attack everyone? Have some brains. You're courting death." The evil spirit was furious and was about to attack, but Lin Wutian's head felt like it had exploded. He felt his soul was being torn apart piece by piece. It was so painful that he couldn't think straight. There was only pain and despair. All the negative emotions were swirling in his sea of consciousness. Get lost. Hum, boom. Lin Wutian was burning with anger. The immortal sword in his hand shattered the heavens, mobilizing the purest sword Tao between heaven and earth. Although it was just a subconscious move, its lethality was even more terrifying. Boom, whoosh. An endless abyss appeared in the depths of the coiling dragon's secret realm. It stretched for countless miles and cut open the evil spirit's side. Woo woo woo. In an instant, a storm raged. Lin Wutian's hair was disheveled, and he was battered and exhausted. He was like a madman, but subconsciously he was still guarding the escape route of the Peach of Immortality, not giving the evil spirit a chance to enter the passage. At this moment, Lin Wutian was like a madman. He had no ability to think, only the instinct to kill and anger. He didn't recognize his family, but he also didn't blame the evil spirit. Instead, he hated it from the bottom of his heart. The evil spirit couldn't do anything. No matter how strong the soul attack was, it couldn't destroy the soul of a great sage like Lin Wutian. Get lost. Get out of my way. Hum hum hum. Whoosh, the green lotus sword light tore open the long river, and even the light in the sky was scattered. Chapter 2209. The green lotus sword light tore through the river, and the fairy sword crossed the mountains and rivers. Lin Wutian held his sword and stood in front, not allowing the sinful soul to enter the passage. The sinful soul gradually lost its patience. Lin Wutian had lost his mind, and his combat power was obviously much weaker. Now was the best time to kill him, but he wanted to control Lin Wutian as a slave. Unfortunately, Lin Wutian's willpower was beyond his imagination. The sinful soul gradually healed his wounded body. His right arm was no longer bleeding. His eyes were filled with red light, and his killing intent was soaring. He stepped toward Lin Wutian. Lin Wutian had lost much of his mind, so he was not afraid of the sinful soul. However, the little divine bird had to be afraid. It screamed in horror, but he was still in a daze. The little divine bird flew into the sky and transformed into Yi Qinghan's appearance. Although his temperament was a bit wretched, his appearance was 80% similar. Why are you so confused? Wake up. The little divine bird had no other choice. It could not wake Lin Wutian, but Yi Qinghan was the most important person in Lin Wutian's heart. It could only transform into Yi Qinghan's appearance to wake Lin Wutian up. Sure enough, when Lin Wutian saw the little divine bird transform into Yi Qinghan, his eyes were obviously stunned. Then his muddy eyes became clearer. Master, you're not dead? Lin Wutian whispered. I'm not dead. Guangzong is not dead. Wake up and protect your heart. The evil soul in front of you is the real enemy. Keep him busy and don't rush for quick success. The little divine bird, who had transformed into Yi Qinghan, placed its hands on its hips and roared domineeringly. Lin Wutian's soul was enlightened. His inner demon was shattered by a wisp of pure sword qi, and he was completely awake. When he saw the divine bird's body, he realized that the little divine bird had deliberately transformed into Yi Qinghan to provoke him. At this time, the sinful soul gathered the killing intent between heaven and earth and formed a giant hand. It fell from the sky and slammed down. The ground sank more than 100 meters, and all the corpses within a few hundred miles were shattered by the force of the blow. How could Yi Qinghan, who had been transformed by the little divine bird, withstand the attack of the evil soul? His body collapsed in an instant, and he returned to his body. He screamed miserably, and then rushed into Lin Wutian's body. Whoosh! Jiange moved again. His immortal sword danced through the mountains and rivers, shattering the evil soul's attack. He fled far away to the small region's passageway at the border of the secret realm. His expression was grave. When he thought back to the muddle-headed scene just now, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. Aunt! Since you're not willing to be my slave, I'll send you to hell. The evil soul was enraged and it charged forward forcefully. The baleful aura defense around the giant hand grew thicker and the soul became stronger by 30%. Boom boom boom. Crack crack crack. Lin Wutian waved his hand, and Void Palace number 9 appeared at the entrance of the passage, blocking the entrance. Insignificant tricks that can't even withstand a single blow. The sinful soul looked at the entrance to Void Palace number 9. Without hesitation, he mobilized his boundless baleful aura and rushed into the Void Palace number 9. Whatever labyrinth it was nothing before him. The baleful aura was all-pervasive. As long as there was a passage, he would be able to find a way out. Whoosh dot woo woo woo. In the blink of an eye, the entire Void Palace number 9 was enveloped by the baleful aura. Lin Wutian's eyes widened. He hurriedly opened Void Palace number 9 and shouted at the little girl on the screen, "Stop him! Don't let the baleful aura enter the cockpit." Boom boom boom. Crack crack crack. The passages near the cockpit were all sealed, and the passage to the cockpit was even more tightly guarded. What is this? How can that black fog corrode the materials of Void Palace number 9? The weapon spirit of Void Palace number 9 on the screen exclaimed. Even Void Palace number 9 couldn't withstand the baleful aura and negative attacks. The corrosiveness was too strong. Lin Wutian's expression suddenly changed. He saw the evil soul in the Void Palace number 9's display screen. He was rapidly breaking through Void Palace number 9 to find a way out. The runes and restrictions on the walls of the Void Palace were decaying and couldn't withstand a single blow. How long do you think you can last? Lin Wutian asked hurriedly. Half a year at most, and Void Palace number 9 will be completely destroyed. You have to take my weapon spirit and mainframe away. As long as there are materials, Void Palace number 9 can still be restored, the little girl said in shock. Lin Wutian took a deep breath and clenched his fist. Do your best to stop him. I will leave with the cockpit in half a year. Void Palace number 9 had no other choice. She had to rely on Lin Wutian now. Time flew. The evil soul destroyed more than half of Void Palace number 9 in just 3 months. All the materials were turned to waste. He would be able to break into the cockpit in a month at most. At that moment, Yi Qinghan, the 4 great saints, and the golden thunder dragon rock were flying through the air with the compassion saint. They rushed from the depths of the distant sea to the mainland. They had been flying for decades. The 4 great saints and the golden thunder dragon rock could only temporarily join forces. Yi Qinghan maintained the balance and didn't allow any conflict between them. The 4 great saints and the golden thunder dragon rock were each responsible for flying for a year. They rotated once a year. Their speed was extremely fast. Originally, there was a gap of 5 years between them and the evil soul. Now, there was only a gap of 3 years left. However, there was still more than half a year before they reached the Coiling Dragon Island. It would be too late to save Lin Wutian. Yi Qinghan didn't stay idle during these 3 years. He continued to comprehend the sacred finger, the star-picking hand, and the celestial arts. He thoroughly comprehended the cultivation methods of these 4 celestial arts. They had all reached the great perfection stage. He was only 1 step away from successfully entering the great saint realm. They flew for another 3 months. Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes, as if he could see through the void. He took a deep breath and said, "Speed up. I want to reach the Coiling Dragon's secret territory as soon as possible. If you can reach the Coiling Dragon's secret territory within half a year, I will allow you to use the star-picking hand again." The 3 great saints began to explode. Their speed was even faster. They directly joined forces to tear the void. They were several times faster than before. At this moment, a beam of celestial light appeared on the Coiling Dragon Island. The light of judgment enveloped the mountains and rivers. The adjudicator stepped into the Coiling Dragon Island and looked at the endless darkness and scorched earth. There was no sign of life. All the plants had decayed. Even when winter passed and spring came, no one saw a tree sprouting. Boom! The adjudicator held the scimitar of judgment in his hand. His figure was like lightning. He dared to rush into the Coiling Dragon's secret territory before Yi Qinghan and the other great saints. He drew a meteor in the sky. The adjudicator's speed was getting faster and faster. It was as if he had shrunk the ground into an inch. He traveled millions of miles in an instant. He was completely relying on the will of the heavens. His spiritual consciousness was several times stronger than that of an ordinary great saint. He could step into any place that his spiritual consciousness covered. A few days later, he appeared at the rear of the Coiling Dragon's secret territory. He saw that only the frame of Void Palace number 9 was left. The evil soul waved his hand, covering the sky, and violently slapped the only remaining cockpit. Boom! Boom! Whoosh! 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 A terrifying aura of destruction pressed down on the ground with the force of thunder. The passageway of the small domain was shattered. If this palm hit, Lin Wutian, who was hiding in the cockpit of the Void Palace secret territory, would be shattered. Whoosh! Lin Wutian felt the terrifying aura of death. He no longer hesitated. He waved his hand and took away the mainframe and device spirit of Void Palace number 9. He was about to flee when he saw the adjudicator from the corner of his eye. He was immediately overjoyed. Not only did he not escape, but he held his sword and attacked the evil soul. Boom! The adjudicator held the light of judgment in his hand. He roared, "The light of judgment, purify all evil." Whoosh! The scimitar of judgment burst out with a monstrous holy light that covered a radius of 100,000 miles. It enveloped Lin Wutian and the evil soul. Chapter 2210. Lin Wutian and the Adjudicator were attacking from both sides. Their auras were so powerful that they blocked the way in all directions. The Green Lotus Sword's song broke the shackles, and the Blade of Judgment purified everything. One was attacking, and the other was purifying. Both were enough to threaten the evil soul. The evil soul was furious. He waved his hand and tried to grab Lin Wutian's divine sword. A majestic evil aura and negative emotions shrouded the area, and the smell became extremely unpleasant. Even if a saint closed his nose and stopped breathing, the evil aura would enter his body through his pores. Lin Wutian's soul operated to its peak state. Pure sword aura wrapped around his body, and the evil aura. If he failed, he would die. If he lost, he would suffer a crushing defeat. If he won, he could injure the evil soul and escape to heaven. Boom! The sword light hit the boundary of evil aura. One was attacking, and the other was defending. One was destroying everything, while the other was not giving way. The boundary caved in, but the divine sword could not completely tear it apart and pierce the evil soul. The two supreme beings were attacking each other. The Adjudicator was chasing after them, but he was too far away. The first light of judgment swept past them. The evil soul's aura stagnated. He hated the light of judgment. He could not help but roar. His aura rose again, and he hit Lin Wutian's head with his palm. The palm had already penetrated Lin Wutian's defense, but Lin Wutian's reaction speed was not bad, especially in close combat. Lin Wutian's body twisted strangely, and the evil spirit's palm passed through half an inch above his neck. However, the evil spirit still poured into his body, causing him to involuntarily groan a few times. Boom! The evil soul's reaction was faster. His palm went through Lin Wutian's neck, but his arms smashed down hard, and Lin Wutian fell to the ground. Bang! Lin Wutian's body fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Just a second before his body fell, the sword in his hand pierced the evil soul's right leg. The evil soul screamed. His body was in a straight line with Lin Wutian, and his blood spilled everywhere. At this moment, the Adjudicator had caught up. The Blade of Judgment in his hand cut through the evil soul's right leg, and it directly cut off Bailey Longxian's right leg. This made the evil soul even more furious. His mournful soul drove him crazy. He ignored everything and hit the Adjudicator's back with his elbow. Bang! Puff! The Arbiter's spine was broken by this elbow strike. The baleful aura entered his body, but it was quickly absorbed by the essence of the Arbiter's art of adjudication and did not affect his soul. This was what it meant to risk one's life. If the four great sages had dared to go all out, they wouldn't have fought for 100 years. Now, the Adjudicator and Lin Wutian had no way out. If they did not fight with everything they had, not only would they die, but the world's consciousness would also be swallowed up. All living beings would not even have a chance to live. The best result would be to become slaves, and the worst would be to die without a burial place. The order of hell would collapse, and they would not even have the chance to reincarnate. Boom! The Adjudicator and Lin Wutian fell into a pool of blood, but they quickly struggled to stand up. There was not much time for them to heal their injuries. Lin Wutian held the divine sword in his hand. The Green Lotus Sword Chi was extremely sharp. The judge's Blade of Judgment shone brightly. It could purify evil spirits. But at this moment, both of them were shocked and desperate. The gap between them was too big. The Blade of Judgment had already touched the evil spirit's body, but it still could not purify it. Where's Yi Qinghan? He has the magic to completely kill the evil spirit. We can't do without him. The Adjudicator growled. Lin Wutian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He said helplessly, I don't know where he went. He disappeared 200 years ago, and the evil spirit also disappeared for more than 100 years. But now, the evil spirit has returned, and my master has not appeared. The Adjudicator's robe was as white as snow, but at this moment, it had begun to dim, as if it had been soaked in ink. His eyes stared at the evil spirit that was closing in step by step. Looking at his ferocious and angry eyes and the evil spirit that wanted to kill the world, his heart trembled. The evil spirit was somewhat similar to the Wish-Death Child's eyes, but the Wish-Death Child's resentment came from himself. After all, there was a limit to it. But the evil spirit's resentment, evil spirit, and negative emotions and so on came from countless creatures when they were at their most desperate. The quality and quantity were incomparable. The evil spirit and the Wish-Death Child had one thing in common. That was, every time they were injured or died, their strength would double. Lin Wutian and the Adjudicator's 2 attacks had injured the evil spirit. Indeed, they had damaged his physical body, but his soul was even more terrifying. The evil spirit and negative emotions were tumbling, covering the sky and the sun. If an ordinary person was touched by the evil spirit, they would die completely and their flesh would rot. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you desperate? The evil spirit asked with a cold smile. As long as you have negative emotions, you will bless me. My life is immortal. Do you think that the Adjudicator can purify my soul? Ridiculous. Whoosh. Lin Wutian and the Adjudicator involuntarily took a few steps back. But behind them was the passage of the small domain, which was crowded with countless creatures. Once the passage was opened by the evil spirit, countless people would die. With so many souls dying tragically, the evil spirit's strength would rise again. Don't let him enter the passage of the small domain. It's full of creatures, Lin Wutian reminded in a deep voice. The Adjudicator held the Adjudicator tightly. The Adjudicator's power was vast and mighty, and the light of the Adjudicator covered the outside world. It constantly attacked the outside world, causing the Tao of heaven and earth to roar non-stop. The Adjudicator held the Adjudicator's blade with both hands and pointed it at the approaching evil spirit. He realized that not only was he unable to kill the evil spirit, but he was also strengthening his soul. If Bailey Longxian's physical body was destroyed, the evil spirit would break free from its shackles. That would be the beginning of the destruction of heaven and earth. At that time, forget about Yi Qinghan's return. Even if the will of the heavens took the initiative to attach itself to the Supreme Saint's body, it might not be able to kill the evil spirit. We can't hurt him anymore, the Adjudicator said helplessly. Lin Wutian also understood that they had to either destroy the evil spirit once and for all, or not hurt him. Otherwise, his soul would only grow stronger and stronger. The evil spirit's physical body was no longer important to him. Back then, he had relied on Bailey Longxian's physical body to condense his soul. Now that he had successfully condensed his soul, having a physical body would imprison him and suppress his cultivation. What should we do? Are we going to give up on the common people? Lin Wutian asked hurriedly. This sentence was not only for the common people, but also for the Kuang Zone. The Adjudicator smiled bitterly. What else can we do? Let's stall him first. Let's wait until Yi Qinghan returns. After saying that, the 2 Supreme Saints blocked the entrance of the small domain. The common people behind them were terrified. Their emotions of fear continued to spread as they rushed into the coiling dragon's secret realm, but they were all absorbed by the evil spirit. The evil spirit absorbed endless fear and despair, and his soul grew stronger and stronger. He dragged Bailey Longxian's broken physical body and approached the passage of the small domain step by step. The evil smile on his face was creepy. Chapter 22:11. The evil soul was extremely evil. Its evil aura and negative emotions were overwhelming. The evil soul was about to leave its body and completely break through the shackles. However, it still needed further stimulation. Lin Wutian and the Adjudicator did not dare to provoke it any further. They did not even dare to attack. They could only defend. The pure sword aura formed a huge defensive shield. The art of judgment bloomed with immortal light. Together with the sword aura was sharp. It had the power to kill a saint even if it did not attack. Boom. Boosh. The evil soul led the evil to cover the defensive shield, allowing the light of judgment to purify it. It was as if the evil had been ignited. The stench was so strong that even a saint would not be able to withstand it. This aura full of negative emotions flooded the coiling dragon's secret realm like a flood. Once the defensive shield was broken, even a small part of the smell would enter the passageway of the small domain. the damage would be unimaginable. Lin Wutian and the adjudicator were fully focused on defense. However, the evil soul was getting more and more aggressive. The defensive shield was in danger and could break at any time. Boom, boom, boom. The ground under their feet crumbled. The tremors had already affected the passageway of the small domain. Countless creatures in the passageway turned pale. They could see the sword aura at the entrance of the passageway from thousands of miles away. Countless divine swords broke through the shackles and rushed toward Lin Wutian. Billions of divine swords rushed into the defensive shield and merged with the enchantment. Billions of divine swords swam. Even if one divine sword could block the evil soul for a breath, billions of divine swords together could block the evil soul for a long time. Instead of waiting for death, why don't we make a vow and fight side by side with two great saints? We will have no regrets even if we die in battle. Far away, Xiaohe took the lead. His saint aura was vast and mighty. His voice was like rolling thunder. He took the lead. He held the divine sword in his hand, hoping to inspire the fighting spirit of all living beings in the world. Xiaohe Supreme was the first to respond to the call of this descendant. He drew his sword to fight. "Count me in." The sacred chess venerable waved his hand and stirred the stars. Heaven and earth were the chessboard, and the stars were the chess pieces. Instead of waiting for death, why don't we fight? The sword Dao Grand Eternal Saint's blood was boiling. He had not had such a fighting spirit for a long time. Now that he was in a dead end, there was no way out. If he did not fight now, when? Moreover, there were two great saints in front of him. Wu Zhenjuan, the Battle Clan elder, and the Nine Lords. At this moment, they had no choice but to charge forward. If they didn't fight, they would die. They might as well fight to their heart's content. The saint, the four great saints. To them, great and ridiculous. 2. At this moment, another 9 people rushed out from the land of nothingness. They were the top experts of the older generation of the Mad Sect. Jiang Jingtian, Gu Qingyu, Yan Ao, Qitian Monkey King, Xia Ziluo, Huang Peng, Yan Yunbei, Mu Zhuang, and Zhou Shuguang. Gu Qingyu brought a chessboard. It was the star chessboard. It was the supreme treasure of the Daluo astral realm. It was a great saint artifact. Once it turned white, it could imprison the sky. Unfortunately, Lin Shui was not a saint yet. Otherwise, she could control it herself. Gu Qingyu and the others were like lightning. They turned into 9 shooting stars. Each of them held a saint's sword. Their saint robes shattered the sky. Thousands of stars shone. They were bathed in saint light. There were still many experts flying in the sky. But now they were stunned by the aura of the 9 saints. The saints of the insane sect are here. Everyone make way. A furious roar shook the galaxy. Tens of thousands of cultivators moved aside, making way for the 9 great cultivators, allowing them to charge into the battlefield without any fear. 10,000 spirits roared as the drums beat. Insane sect. Insane sect. Only the insane sect will fight in the battle of extinction. The common people roared. Looking at the 9 saints of the insane sect, they seemed to have seen a glimmer of hope. Looking at the world from afar, the 22 holy lands were like the sun in the sky. However, before the Doomsday War, it was the insane sect that had quietly appeared that truly stirred up the atmosphere. Buzz. The sound of nature was vast and mighty. It seemed that even the heavens were sending the saints of the insane sect off. Suddenly, the aura of the final battle had lifted the hearts of countless people in this small region. Let's unite. The saints of the insane sect have moved out. We should save ourselves. Even if we contribute a little bit of our strength, how much strength do we need to gather? The evil souls are just the gathering of the souls of the people in this region. But we are the gathering of the lives of half of the macro world. What is there to fear? What is there to regret? The ambitious people finally did not want to be left out. They did not want to wait for death. At the most critical moment, their fighting spirit exploded. Wisps of psyche power and faith gathered above the saints of the insane sect. This was the gathering of the faith of half of the creatures in the macro world. Suddenly, the power of the 9 saints surged. It almost broke through their physical bodies. Their souls were instantly strengthened by more than 100 times. They wanted to break through to the Supreme Saint realm. This was the pure power of faith and willpower. The wishes of all living beings were all gathered on the saints of the insane sect. Gu Qingyu and the others were also shocked. They did not expect such a situation to happen. They looked at each other, but their speed did not decrease. Instead, it increased by more than 10 times. The Big Dipper star shift was like the 5 elements shift of the celestial sect. It appeared occasionally, but in the next moment, it was 100,000 miles away. The short dagger in his hand had been tempered thousands of times. Although it was only the length of a chopstick, the materials used to make it were more than any of the saints' sacred weapons. Yan Yunbei was the oldest ancient killing god. His murderous aura had already condensed. The ancient killing gods were formed to protect. They would only explode at the most critical moment. They were even willing to give up their lives. Yan Yunbei's vigorous eyes burst with majestic willpower. He led the holy power of the firmament. With the support of endless willpower and faith, he wanted to break through the shackles and rush into the Supreme Saint realm. At this moment, the world's consciousness was no longer willing to wait. Whether it could kill the evil souls at this moment depended on this battle. If it did not let go of the suppression of the world, it would not be able to survive. Therefore, the heavens were willing to lend a hand to the saints of the insane sect. It took the initiative to guide them into the Supreme Saint realm and sacrifice their lives for the final battle. The stronger the momentum of the 9 saints of the insane sect, the purer the willpower and faith of hundreds of trillions of living beings. It was increasing in number, and it was a proportional superposition. Fight! Gu Qingyu drew his sword. His cold swordsmanship caused the swordsmanship of heaven and earth to roar. The other 8 saints all took out their sacred weapons. A long spear pierced through the darkness like a rainbow, causing the stars to move. Countless starlight shrouded the area. A sacred sword led thousands of swords behind it. Countless swords and sabers rushed into the sky. The long spear pierced through the air and followed the 9 saints. Chapter 22:12. The Great World, the Coiling Dragon's Secret Realm. The final battle had already begun. Yi Qinghan and the others were now approaching the Coiling Dragon Island. With the support of the 3 great saints, they crossed 1,000,000 miles in an instant and rushed into the island. There were still 3 days before the half-year deadline set by Yi Qinghan. The 3 great saints smiled. Yi Qinghan was too lazy to say anything. He scanned the island and found that it was full of death and evil energy. The negative emotions had not dissipated. He looked in the direction of the Coiling Dragon's secret realm and determined the approximate location of the evil souls. He did not dare to delay any longer. I will give you 2 hours to rest. After that, you will enter the Coiling Dragon's secret realm. As long as you help me destroy the evil souls, I will teach you all the 5 moves of the star-seizing hand. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Jean Lei Long Peng and Charity Saint did not say anything. They sat cross-legged and absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to recover from the years of traveling. This was only the exhaustion of traveling. They were not injured. It was enough for them to recover to their peak condition. Xia Zhiyang, Skirich, and Holy Emperor had exhausted the most energy. The Spectre Patriarch had exhausted the least. However, he was unhappy because Yi Qinghan did not care about him at all. He did not even want to help kill the evil souls. If it were not for Xia Zhiyang, he would have fled long ago. 2 hours passed quickly. The 3 great saints recovered quickly. As the saying goes, people are in high spirits. The 3 veteran great saints not only reached their peak, but also exceeded it. Let's go. Yi Qinghan glanced at the 4 great saints, then turned to Charity Saint and said, You enter the great world first. This battle is not something you can participate in. Charity Saint was not willing to leave. He said firmly, I said that I will follow you to the end of time, Yi Qinghan smiled and said gently, I know. That is why you have to go to the great world first. Otherwise, if you die, you will not be able to follow me wherever I go. With that, Yi Qinghan patted Charity Sage's head gently. Charity Sage was both moved and helpless. Who asked him to not be a great sage? Without the strength of a great sage, who could interfere in this battle? A saint could not withstand the soul attack of an evil soul. Charity Saint understood this, so he did not want to waste Yi Qinghan's time. He did not want to distract him, so he turned and rushed towards the great world. 4 great sages, plus Yi Qinghan and the golden lightning dragon rock, a total of 6 supremes had entered the coiling dragon mystic realm. Although Yi Qinghan wasn't a great sage, so what? His immortal sect 5 elements golden bell shield and teleportation technique had made him invincible. Although the coiling dragon island was huge, this distance was nothing to a great saint. After a while, they entered the coiling dragon mysterious realm. Inside the mysterious realm, there was a boundless aura of death. The black mist was thin, but the land under the black mist was devoid of life. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the 6 experts flew away. Yi Qinghan did not even leave behind a shadow. In 1 second, he was 100,000 miles away, and in the next, he appeared in front of the great saints. Tong Tianjidi and Xia Zhaoyang were stunned. This was Yi Qinghan's strange immortal technique. His speed surpassed that of a great saint at the saint realm. Who would be a match for Yi Qinghan if he reached the great saint realm? Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out Frenzy. Wearing a Taoist robe, he rushed to the rear in a few days. At this time, the 9 great saints of the Savage sect had almost stepped into the great saint realm. All of them supported the defensive barrier of Lin Wutian and the Adjudicator. With so many experts gathered, the barrier was still in danger. It could be shattered at any time. The evil spirit flashed coldly. Due to the confinement of his physical body, he could not unleash his power. Previously, he had a physical body to gather resentful souls. But now, his soul had exceeded the limits of his physical body. His physical body had become a burden. However, his soul had spread all over his body. He could not completely destroy his physical body. He could only rely on external forces. They are only defending and not attacking. I can't escape from my physical body. I have to find a way to make them attack. Only then can I escape. The evil spirit clenched his fists. Bailey Longxian's physical body was about to be destroyed. He only needed one last attack. The evil spirit looked at the impenetrable barrier and became angrier. His soul was still expanding, devouring endless fear and resentful despair. As long as humans had negative emotions, he could absorb them to strengthen himself. Boom, boom. The evil spirit waved his great saint fists and punched the barrier repeatedly. His momentum was monstrous. Evil chi invaded the barrier and devoured and purified the light of judgment. The stench was filled with poisonous gas. It was about to penetrate the barrier. Once it did, the passage of the small domain would be devoid of life. Gu Qingyu and the other 9 saints of the Savage sect stepped into the barrier and mobilized all of their saint power. They gathered the power of will of countless people to strengthen the barrier, forming a 3rd line of defense. Only then did the barrier stabilize. The immortal peach tree said that we cannot destroy Bailey Longxian's physical body. We must imprison the evil spirit and Bailey Longxian's physical body in the star chessboard. We must use an explosive force to purify and destroy the evil spirit. Otherwise, when the evil spirit leaves the physical body, it will be corporeal. All physical attacks will be ineffective against it. No one will be able to resist it. Gu Qingyu reminded in a deep voice. Puff, puff. Lin Wutian and the Adjudicator were breathing heavily. They were glad that they did not destroy Bailey Longxian's physical body. When will Yi Qinghan return? We won't be able to hold on for long. Even if we do manage to imprison the evil souls in the star chessboard, if Yi Qinghan doesn't come, the star chessboard will quickly be destroyed. When that happens, there will be no sacred artifact left to imprison the evil souls, the Adjudicator growled. No one could give him a definite answer. No one knew where Yi Qinghan was. There was no other way but to wait for a long time. At this moment, the sacred chess venerable stepped into the barrier from behind and said in a deep voice, "The star chessboard is under my control. As long as you can hold him back for 3 breaths of time, I will be able to imprison him in the star chessboard. There is no hurry. If Yi Qinghan does not return, everything will be in vain. The immortal spell to deal with the evil spirit is in Yi Qinghan's hands. It will be futile no matter how many of us we have." The adjudicator growled helplessly. The adjudicator's spell combined with the 5 elements of the immortal sect of the imprisoning heavenly Tao scripture could completely exterminate the evil spirit. Both were indispensable. The saints of the insane sect were helpless. Only Yi Qinghan knew where he had gone. At this moment, the little divine bird ran out and said excitedly, "I can feel Dad's aura. They're back." The little divine bird was connected to the divine bird by blood. It was the first to discover Yi Qinghan's traces. Yi Qinghan led the 4 great saints and the golden thunder dragon rock out of the void and appeared at the back of the battlefield. "Evil spirit, I'm back. Let's see where you can run to today." Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rode the wind and broke through the waves. His divine sense covered the area and his figure appeared. The 5th move of the space-piercing star-picking palm shattered the void and grabbed the evil spirit. "Don't break his physical body." Lin Wutian and the others screamed. Chapter 22:13. Lin Wutian, the adjudicator, and the others were shocked. Yi Qinghan was too fast. Before they could finish their sentence, Yi Qinghan's giant hand had crushed the void and grabbed the Supreme Saint Warbody. Bang! The Supreme Saint Warbody could not stop Yi Qinghan's claw and was crushed into nothingness. In an instant, everything was dead silent. The 9 saints, Lin Wutian, and the adjudicator were all stunned. Yi Qinghan did not see the final way to kill the evil soul, so he attacked the evil soul thousands of miles away and crushed the body of Bailey Longxian. However, the evil soul had completely lost its suppression and dissipated between heaven and earth. It seemed to have perished, but it was everywhere. Wherever there were people, there would be evil souls. Yi Qinghan was also stunned. His figure flashed and appeared in front of the saints. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "What did you just say?" The adjudicator slapped his head and roared, "You cultivated the celestial sect's secret technique. I don't believe you didn't see the world's warning. You're crazy. Why did you destroy the evil soul's body?" Yi Qinghan frowned. He saw the fear and shock on the faces of the saints and knew something was wrong. "Master, you let the evil soul escape," Lin Wutian said in despair. When Yi Qinghan heard this, he knew something was wrong. He looked around, but the evil soul was nowhere to be seen. "Guard the passage and don't let it enter the passage. I'll think of a way." Yi Qinghan's face darkened and he clenched his fists. He did not know what kind of technique could destroy the evil soul. "Think my ass." The warning of the world's consciousness was very clear. Use the star chessboard to imprison the evil soul. You and I will work together. I will use the light of judgment, and you will use the perfect combination of the celestial sect's 4 great celestial techniques. With both of us working together, the evil soul can be purified instantly. Now that you have destroyed its body, it is invisible and everywhere. How can we kill it? The adjudicator roared. Yi Qinghan was speechless. He smiled and said, "I didn't see the last part of the warning. I was wondering why I caught the evil soul so easily." "Ooh." The adjudicator breathed a sigh of relief. He did not want to talk to Yi Qinghan anymore. He had been looking forward to his return, but now he wished he could turn back time and make him disappear quickly. After a while, they appeared, and the 4 great saints appeared on the battlefield, and immediately noticed that something was wrong. They looked around vigilantly and asked in unison, "Where's the evil soul?" He smiled wry. "It has already transcended. It is transcended is transcended." The faces of the 4 great sages flickered. The sinful souls had been terrifying enough, but now that they had transcended, didn't that mean they had no chance at all? Where should they escape to escape? Suddenly, the heavens, the demon king and I Remember. I. It. When I. When I. A mocking and emotionless voice sounded. It was everywhere and made one's hair stand on end. Yi Qinghan rubbed his forehead in annoyance. This thing was like an inner demon. It followed him all the time. It was as if everything was heaven's will. You bastard! You were born just to play with me, right? Xia Zheyang was the one who made you appear. You should take revenge on him. Why do you keep staring at me? Yi Qinghan looked at the black fog in the sky. It was everywhere. He could not get rid of it. He could only curse helplessly. Xia Zheyang widened his eyes and glared at Yi Qinghan. Killing intent flashed in his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. He still needed to comprehend one more move of the star-plucking hand before he could deduce the entire mantra of the star-plucking hand. He also needed to cultivate the immortal sect's 5 elements transference technique. As long as he could comprehend the 3 great immortal techniques, it wouldn't matter how powerful his evil soul was. The evil soul transformed into a humanoid figure. His face was ever-changing, representing countless living beings. They were all the living beings who had been buried with him back then. His cold and emotionless eyes stared at Yi Qinghan and Xia Zheyang. The madness in his eyes was terrifying. Xia Zheyang will definitely die. I am considering how I should let him die. As for you, you will die as well. However, even if you die, you must provide me with some power so that I can break free from my shackles and surpass the will of this world. I want to take control of my world. The evil soul stretched out his hand, formed from the black fog, and laughed sinisterly. Yi Qinghan raised his eyes to look at the sky. He could not understand why the will of eternal world would allow such a thing to exist. Wasn't that the same as committing suicide? The will of eternal world had its own will. However, it was not omnipotent. It was incapable of interfering with the trajectory of this world. Everything had its own set of rules. Even if it could save itself, there was a limit to what it could do. For example, the birth of the Arbiter was the will of eternal world's self-redemption. Unfortunately, it had failed. So, let's both take a step back. You won't devour me and I won't kill you. I'll give eternal world to you and leave with my men. From then on, we'll mind our own business. How about it? Yi Qinghan spread out both his hands, ready to go all out. The Arbiter grew furious. Unexpectedly, the will of eternal world would hand over its final chance of survival to such an unreliable person. Yi Qinghan, you are someone blessed by heaven. Why are you so cold-blooded? If you hand over eternal world to it, how many innocent lives will be lost? The Arbiter asked furiously. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said, You can't blame me for this. There is something wrong with the will of eternal world's head. It could have just informed me of the important things. Instead, it kept nagging me, causing me to miss the most important warning. This led to the current situation. Now that it refuses to compromise, what else can I do? Even if you compromise, where can you go? The Arbiter asked, glaring furiously. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose. At present, he did not know what the outside of eternal world was like. Was there a higher grade space? Were there immortals? Was there a balanced space? How far was the so-called heaven beyond heaven from eternal world? Everything was unknown. That was why the most terrifying thing was that immortals had never been born. There had never been an existence surpassing the great sage stage. No one had ever left eternal world. However, Yi Qinghan clearly remembered what Void Palace No. 9 had said before. Everything was possible. What could not be seen or what had not happened did not mean that they did not exist. There must surely be an eternal world beyond eternal world. There were civilizations before civilizations. Now that this civilization had been destroyed, another civilization would surely be born after countless years. Yi Qinghan's soul was operating rapidly, but the sinful soul did not give him much time. Whoa, woo-woo. A cold gust of wind blew and darkness enveloped the entire coiling dragon pocket dimension. Malevolent energy had begun to slowly invade the great sage's sacred body. You are all ants' food. You have no right to negotiate. the sinful soul's words announced the disappearance of eternal world's eternal world. No one knew when the next civilization would be born. Yi Qinghan's brows furrowed and he snorted. Since you insist on forcing my hand, I will have a showdown with you today. Yi Qinghan put his palms together and gathered the 5 elements of heaven and earth. The immortal sect's 5 elements golden bell shield spread out from his body. It grew stronger and covered a wider area. It quickly opened up a space with a radius of 100 miles and directly blasted the sinful soul out of the domain. 5 elements balance, heaven and earth blessing. Yi Qinghan's palms kept forming seals. The 5 elements' sacred core in his body erupted with even purer 5 elements. They supported Yi Qinghan's 5 elements balance while Yi Qinghan strengthened their inner cores. Boom! In an instant, golden light soared into the sky and covered the darkness. It was as if a scorching sun had risen from the depths of the pocket dimension, purifying all evil. It was even more terrifying than the art of adjudication. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.